Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The blank book of Lemony Snicket says, just because you don't understand, it doesn't mean it isn't so. This line is very much relevant to the reason why we are gathered here today, and that is to discuss the things that we think are incomprehensible when it comes to mental health issues. With that, we are glad to welcome you all to this orientation on the guidelines on counseling and referral system of the Department of Education. To begin with, let us all sing a nationalistic song to be followed by a prayer which will be played by Miss Nika.
Inalay mo ang buhay mo para sa kapwa-tao. Mahirap man, tuloy pa rin ang laban.
Iniwan ang tahanan upang paglingkuran ng bayan. Tinalala ang mapamalas sa di makinang banta. Ang hinahan, bayanihan, ikasulong
This time, let us all together recite the DepEd's vision, mission, and core values.
The DepEd vision. We dream of Filipinos who passionately love their country and whose values and competencies enable them to realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to building the nation. As a learner-centered public institution, the Department of Education continuously improves itself to better serve its stakeholders. The DepEd mission: to protect and promote the right of every Filipino to quality, equitable, culture-based, and complete basic education, where students learn in a child-friendly, gender-sensitive, safe, and motivating environment. Teachers facilitate learning and constantly nurture every learner. Administrators and staff, as stewards of the institution, ensure an enabling and supportive environment for effective learning to happen. Family, community, and other stakeholders are actively engaged and share responsibility for developing lifelong learners. The DepEd core values: makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan, at makabansa.
At this point, allow me to introduce to you the people behind this event. Let's start with the Director for, yes, let's start with the Director 4 of the Bureau of Curriculum Development, Director Jocelyn D.R. Andaya. We also have our Director 3 of BCD, Dr. Samuel R. Suliben. We also have the Chief Education Program Specialist of the Curriculum Standards Development Division of BCD, Dr. Isabel A. Victorino. Also, we have the Supervising Education Program Specialist, Mr. Mark Anthony V. Barcando, Senior Education Program Specialist, Jonna Kristen Valdez. Also, we have Ms. Tina Amor V. Buhat, Senior Education Program Specialist. We also have yours truly, Senior Education Program Specialist, Cinderella Regino. Ms. Nika Regine Bilico, Senior Education Program Specialist. And we have here Mr. Carlo, or shall I say Dr. Carlo Puno, Senior Education Program Specialist from DepEd Region 3. And Mr. Alfred Reyes, Administrative Assistant 2. Of course, this event will not be possible without your willful participation. So we welcome you all here, the 6,588 attendees of this orientation on the guidelines on counseling and referral system. May I request everyone to please hit the heart button, the heart react in your chat box. Thank you. Okay, so to keep um, to keep the smooth flow of this event, may I remind you of all these rules or the activity norms, Ms. Nika? Okay, make sure that before you enter this activity or this meeting room, you have already prepared yourself and your materials, and then check your internet connectivity. Or I'm sure, of course, you're here, you've already logged in, and you made sure your personal information is correct. Now, during the orientation, you also have to remember that uh, you have to practice respect and then Take note of your questions so you can post them in the chat box during the Q&A. You also have to participate in the forum or through the chat box. Make sure you write your questions in this format. Region and then your name and then your question. Also, after the orientation, you have to submit all your outputs to the management team and then accomplish the evaluation survey. There will be some reminders on this later. We will announce those reminders later. And then all your materials in this orientation are accessible through Google Drive indicated in the evaluation survey. So I hope you will all remember those rules. And to deliver the opening remarks, may we hear from our dedicated and Principal Director 4 of the Bureau of Curriculum Development, Director Jocelyn D.R. Andaya. A virtual applause, please.
To the regional and division supervisors in charge of guidance and counseling, to our school heads, principals, guidance counselors, guidance designates, and all those that are present in this DepEd activity, let me greet you. Good afternoon. Maray na hapon, maayo na hapon, naimbaga malen, buenas tardes, magandang hapon. It is said that tough times never last, but tough people do. Like you, like us. These are the times when our totality as persons is being challenged and tested. Aside from the obvious struggles our economy faces and the physical health in our country, we are also facing mental health issue, and so do our learners. It is where our department is coming from through the curriculum and instruction strand when we issued the PED memo number OUCI number 2021-055 Counseling and Referral System Guidelines on March 3, 2021. The Implementing Rules and Regulations or IRR of Republic Act number 11036, otherwise known as the Mental Health Law Section 25, stipulates that educational institutions such as schools, colleges, and universities and technical schools shall develop policies and programs for students, educators, and other employees designed to raise awareness on mental health issues, identify and provide support services for individuals at risk, and facilitate access, including referral mechanisms of individuals with mental health conditions to treatment and psychosocial support. The DepEd, CHED, and TESDA, in coordination with other relevant government agencies and stakeholders, shall provide guidance in the development and implementation of mental health policy and programs in educational institutions to letter A, promote mental health, B, provide basic support services for individuals at risk or already have a mental health condition, and C, establish efficient linkages with other agencies and organizations that provide or make arrangements to provide support, treatment, and continuing care. We aim to establish guidelines and procedures that will help DepEd schools in addressing learners who need counseling and should be referred to other mental health professionals and services. We also recognize the scarcity of our licensed mental health professionals in schools, along with their appeal to increase their salary and organizational and professional growth. We do hear you. That's why we never get tired of working on it. But please understand that it is not only the DepEd that will decide on this. We are in a large and huge government system where everything has to go through a rigorous process of consultations. While waiting for that breakthrough, of course, which we know will happen soon, I appeal to you, our mental health advocates, professionals, supervisors, school heads, do not give up on our learners. Hold on and continue serving them with mental health interventions and programs within your capacity. As public servants, it is our way of giving our precious contribution for the good of our country. Yes, we have our own personal struggles, But who doesn't have any personal struggle at this time of pandemic? Let's always remember that we are part of a big mission to educate and mold the future of our country. Let me end by quoting a favorite character in Harry Potter, Albus Dumbledore. He said, "Happiness can be found in the darkest of times if only one remembers to turn on the light." Let us be the light bearers during this pandemic. Thank you very much everyone and padayon sa inyong ginagawa. I hope that this will be a very productive and meaningful afternoon for all of you. Thank you again and magandang hapon muli.
All right, that is Director Jocelyn D.R. Andaya. This time, we'll have our objectives. So, may I now call in one of our RGCs in Central Office, Miss Kristen Valdez, to give us the objectives of this orientation. Yes, Ma'am Jonah.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Para sa oryentasyong ito, inaanyayahan na ang lahat ay makikilahok at nilalayon po natin na mabigyan ng oryentasyon ng lahat ng mga participants tungkol sa guidelines on the counseling and referral system of the learners for school year 2020-2021. At gayon din, nais naming makakalap ng inyong mga inputs, mga suggestions and recommendations tungkol sa mga posibleng magiging problema o mga concerns na maaaring mapag-usapan natin tungkol sa implementasyong ito. So lahat po ay inaasahan na makikiisa at lahat din po ay ating inaanyayahan na magbigay ng kanilang mga inputs upang mapabuti pa natin ang pagsasatupad ng ating counseling and referral system. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Jonah. Thank you for giving us the objectives for today. And so, before we jump into the discussion proper, we would like to know how you feel at the moment. And so, we request you to do this activity. Miss Nika, can you flash on the screen our Mentimeter? Okay, so we have a question here. How do you feel today? What you have to do is to just go to menti.com and use the code 6567103 and we will wait for your answers. Again, just go to menti.com and use the code 6567103. So ayan, Miss Nika will be presenting your answers. Oh, yung isa nagsagot, excited, satisfied, feeling blessed. I am happy, great, sleepy. Why? Di bali po mamaya, hindi na po kayo magiging sleepy. I'm feeling great, good. So, majority po ng answers ay napunta sa excited and happy and good. Thankful. Thankful din po kami that you have chosen to attend today in this orientation kasi it's really important that we know the guidelines on this project on counseling and referral system of the Department of Education. Okay, so thank you so much for your responses. We still have another question, Ms. Nika. The next question would be, how many of you have read completely the counseling and referral system guideline? Same process po. Just go to menti.com and this time use the code 24682176. Again, our code for this question is 24682176. We can now flash on the screen the answers of our participants. By the way, we already have 7,261 attendees as of 2:30 p.m. Okay. Kanina neck to neck. Ngayon, nagko-contest yung dalawa. Pero mas lumalamang na ang ating no, I have not yet read the guidelines. So, answers are still coming in. Ayan, mas lamang po talaga ang hindi pa nakabasa ng ating guidelines. So, 336. We have 106 na nakapagbasa, but we have 518 na hindi pa nakapagbasa. Ano kaya yung sagot ng iba from our 7,096 attendees? So answers are still coming in, but I would like to conclude that yes, maglalakas loob na ako mag-conclude that majority of the attendees today have not yet read the guidelines on counseling and referral system. So don't worry, because these things will be discussed by our experts from the central office, and actually they are joined by another expert from Region 3 in the name of Dr. Carlo M. Puno. He is also a senior education program specialist from Division of Angeles City, a division focal person in guidance and counseling, also a licensed guidance counselor, and a mental health advocate. So this time, while we're still waiting for the answers, anyway, we're going to document that. I'm now turning over the microphone to our moderator for today, Mr. Carlo Puno. Take it away, sir.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Cindy. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor and privilege to be part of this activity. Actually, I am very excited, no? Or shall I say, lahat tayo excited for today's discussion, since it is an important event in the history of guidance and counseling in the Department of Education. So for everyone's knowledge, this memorandum order or the guidelines on the counseling and referral system is the first ever mandate that focuses on counseling and referral. So imagine na lang po natin, no, yung timing nitong mandate na ito, lalo na ngayong pandemya. So this is not only for us, registered guidance counselors, but more so for our guidance designates and school head who go beyond their responsibilities as educators. So I know everyone is looking forward to get acquainted with this topic. So before we start, let me introduce to you the big wigs of guidance and counseling in the Department of Education. Okay, so first, our first member of the panel is currently the Supervising Education Program Specialist of Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao, Career Guidance, Homeroom Guidance, Work Immersion, and National Schools Press Conference from the Bureau of Curriculum Development, Department of Education. Furthermore, he is an advocate of mental health and values formation among learners and employees. He is a licensed professional teacher, a registered guidance counselor, and a registered psychometrician. He also became the former director of Guidance and Counseling Office and worked as a college counselor and faculty at the University of Perpetual Health Molino campus. Colleagues in the mental health profession, guidance designates, and school heads, let us welcome Mr. Mark Anthony V. Percando. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Po. Okay, so another notable member of the panel is the focal person of Homeroom Guidance Program and Career Guidance Program from the Bureau of Curriculum Development, the DepEd Central Office. She's the licensed guidance counselor and represents the department in National Technical Working Group of the Career Guidance Advocacy Program. And likewise, she served as a resource person in homeroom guidance and career guidance trainings and workshops. She is none other than Miss Jonna Kristen M. Valdez. Good afternoon po, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon po. And last but definitely not the least is the Senior Education Program Specialist of the Bureau of Curriculum Development, the focal person for Comprehensive Guidance and Counseling Program, Special Interest Program, Special Program for Foreign Language, Spanish, and co-lead for Special Education Programs. She is a registered guidance counselor, a psychometrician, and a licensed professional teacher. Moreover, she became a voluntary counselor and mental health provider for various victims of calamities and sexual abuse children. Friends, we have Miss Tina Amor Buhat. Good afternoon po, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon
po.
sa lahat.
Yes, okay. So I think we're good to start the discussion, no? Let me throw the first question to you, Ma'am Tina, dahil ikaw yung pinakalas na nabanggit sa ating mga panel members. Ang unang tanong po, I think this is very important, lalong-lalo na para sa ating mga guidance designates and school heads na nandito ngayon. Ano nga po ba ang guidance and counseling at ano-ano ba yung mga services na nasa ilalim po nito?
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Carlo. Ano nga ba ang guidance? Ito ay isang profesyon na gumatulong sa mga learners o mga estudyante upang linangin ang kanilang kalakasan ayon sa kanilang potensyal, interest or needs, or pangangailangan tungo sa kanilang pag-unlad. Paano paraan ba natin ito maibibigay sa ating mga learners? Siyempre, marami tayong mga guidance services na ino-offer. Okay. So, kagaya ng counseling, psychological testing, meron din tayong career guidance. So, marami po yan. Ito po ay mga maaaring ma-achieve sa pamamagitan ng ating mga guidance services. And then, dahil sa mga services nito na ibabahagi ng mga guidance counselors, ang kanilang kaalaman sa counseling, group process, at marami pang iba.
Sir Carlo?
Okay. I think meron pa pong additional sa ating mga panel members regarding po sa iba't ibang mga guidance services po na pwedeng ma-avail ng isang estudyante.
Sir Carlo, salamat, no. Unang-una, ang guidance and counseling ay isang profesyon na kung saan naging professionalized sa Pilipinas. At sinasabi dito na, of course, kapag dating sa school, ito ang pinaka-mental health services na ibinibigay sa ating mga estudyante. No? So, kapag guidance and counseling, gagamitin uli natin itong pie chart na ginagamit natin sa homeroom guidance at even sa career guidance na bilang illustration kung paano ba tumatakbo o paano ba ang distribution, no, ng guidance and counseling services. By the way, this is just a sample. No, I know that in some private schools or even in some universities, they have their own services being given to our students. But as you can see, the huge chunk here is counseling, which we are trained to do, no? Itong ating mga RGCs. Of course, yan ang pinaka malaking bahagi ng ating trabaho bilang counselor. At syempre, nandyan din yung information service na kung saan bahagi ang homeroom guidance. At syempre, nandyan pa ang individual inventory, follow-up, research and evaluation, placement, at kung ano-ano pa. And I think yung ating kasama dito na si Miss Jonah ay may karagdagan din dito. Tama ba, Miss Jonah?
Yes, Sir Mark, no. Sa context ng Department of Education, nakapag-umpisa na tayo sa ilang mga programa in relation sa guidance and counseling services. So, since 2016, mayroon tayong existing career guidance program at ito ngang 2020, ito ay officially na nai-transfer na sa Bureau of Curriculum Development. So, active po ang ating career guidance program na makikita natin yan na meron ding mga activities in relation dito. Pagdating naman po sa ating information service, kagaya nga ng nabanggit ni Mr. Mark Bercando na ito ay kasama po dito ang ating homeroom guidance program. Kaya nga napaka-importante dahil ito din ang magsisilbing gabay o magsisilbing guidance natin pagdating sa pagbibigay ng mga programa, no? Itong mga guidance and counseling services. So, target natin lahat ng services, dumating yung panahon na makapag-provide na din tayo sa lahat ng DepEd schools. So yun po yung ating tutunguhin. Nawa, no, sa tulong ng lahat ng mga RGC at ng mismong pamunuan ng Department of Education, sana kumpleto na itong lahat ng ito o beyond pa yung maibigay natin sa ating mga learners.
Okay po.
Sir Carlo, dagdag ko lang.
Yes, sir.
Kasi binabanggit natin yung iba't ibang services, mahalaga na alam ito ng ating mga school heads at principals para alam nila kung ano dapat ang tinatrabaho ng ating mga guidance counselors, no? Other than the add-ons, this is really should have been the concentration of our guidance counselors dahil ito pa lang po ay ubos na ang kanilang time, actually kulang pa, no? At of course, we are not operating on ideal ratio. Alam naman po natin na dapat is 1:500, but of course we have to deal with the current moment and with the current setup dahil we can only do so much, of course, but we have to consider these realities, no? At part ng guidance services, syempre nandiyan yung individual inventory na kung saan yung mga guidance counselors natin, they do routine interview na dito pinapatawag yung mga estudyante isa-isa to really check the current functioning of our students and for those who are actually at risk, no, doon sa mga sinasabi nating mga mental health issues. As of the moment, meron din tayong tinatawag na referral, which is one of the focuses of this exercise together with counseling. Of course, yung psychological assessment, yung ibang mga schools in DepEd, there are schools that are capable of buying, but of course, majority ay, syempre, alam naman natin na ito ay ginagastasan talaga at of course, hindi yan pwede i-photocopy at hindi yan pwede i-duplicate, no? So, sinasabi lang natin na maybe in the future, no, alam naman natin na may ginagawa tayo sa ating kagawaran. Alam na, bagamat yung iba sinasabi medyo baby steps, no, but at least we're moving forward. And sooner or later, maybe in the future, we can develop our own psychological assessment tools, no, na hindi na kinakailangan bumili ng ating mga guidance office or even guidance counselors sa mga schools. So again, this is just a sample. It's not a standard distribution of guidance services, but this is just a simple illustration on how the guidance services should go.
Okay, sir. Sir, for the benefit of our guidance designates and teachers, no, paano po ba nakakatulong itong mga services na ito para sa ating mga learners?
Unang-una, ang sinasabi nating mental health professional sa school ay ang ating mga RGC, no? So, when you talk about guidance and counseling services, it operates on the mental health or the psychological well-being of our learners. Hence, habang kinikater o sinasabi nating pinapaunlad ng ating mga teachers ang academic or sinasabi nating cognitive faculties ng mga estudyante, ang mga guidance counselors naman or ang guidance office ay tumututok sa psychological well-being ng mga bata na napakahalaga at napakalaking factor for them to be successful. Of course, yung ating mga guidance designates dito, based on RA 9258, ang kaya lang nilang gawin ay syempre yung mga bagay na hindi na pwede sa guidance office. For instance, itong pag-refer, of course, they can do also research and evaluation, they can do placement service, they can do information service. Of course, 9258 prevents any non-licensed to conduct counseling. So, may mga limitations tayong tinitingnan, but we are saying that guidance and counseling office caters to the mental health of our students.
Yun po. Actually, sir, no, kung titignan natin din sa discussion nyo, napakarami din po palang kayang gawin ng ating mga guidance designates, no, kahit hindi sila licensed. Pero sir, nabanggit nyo na rin po kanina na ang focus talaga natin ngayon is yung sa referral and counseling. Bakit nga po ba kailangan itong policy na ito, sir?
Okay, Sir Carlo. Bakit kailangan ng policy nito? Actually, matagal nang inaantay ito sa mga schools kasi this is the first time nga na nagkaroon tayo ng DepEd memorandum regarding sa counseling and referral policy. Kasi nga ang ginagawa yung mga iba-iba naman din kasi ang situation or needs ng bawat school. So kaya nagkakaroon din ng pagkakaiba kung anong dapat nilang prosesong gawin in terms of referral and counseling. Napakalaking tulong ng policy na ito kasi ito yung magiging gabay ng mga guidance counselor, advocates, at saka ng mga principal and also the supervisor na naka-assign sa guidance kung ano ba yung mga dapat gawin, ano ba yung mga proseso. Magbibigay din ito ng direksyon sa atin upang malaman natin kung sino-sino yung mga tao na dapat nating lapitan in terms of mental health. Lalo na ngayon, maraming struggle ang mga estudyante. So actually, hindi lang naman mga estudyante, pati rin mga teachers, mga guidance counselors, so lahat tayo dumadaan din ngayon sa pagsubok kasi nga ay dahil din sa pandemya.
Tama po, ma'am. Opo. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Additional po.
Dagdag pa dyan, actually, very timely itong ating dokumento na nilabas, no? Kasi gusto lang, syempre may nabasa tayong balita kanina na sa Region 8, no, may naglanding sa news na may 3 estudyante na commit suicide. No, and it's not only a function, of course, of the school. There are different factors affecting the way they handle their situation. At sabi natin na ang DepEd ay gumagawa din ng paraan upang matulungan at isa nga itong paglalabas ng polisiya upang magkaroon ng systematic at organisadong pag-refer ng ating mga estudyante nangangailangan ng mental health services or guidance services rather sa ating mga public schools. So, yun.
Actually, sir, totoo yan dahil sa experience ko po, no, sa mga nakakausap natin sa field, talagang kailangan nila talaga ng isang standard na pwedeng i-follow when it comes to referral for counseling ng mga estudyante nila. Sige po, let's try to focus, sir, dun sa ating pinaka-specific na guidance services. Ano nga po ba ang counseling? I think Ma'am Zona will, po.
Ayan. So based dun sa definition na ibinigay natin at sa pangangalap natin din ng definition on counseling sa iba't ibang literature, no? Ito yung nabuo nating definition ng counseling sa Department of Education. So it is a well-planned, goal-oriented, and short-term intervention that aims to help learners manage and overcome issues or concerns that hinder them to attain success. So its process aids learners to define the problems, its sources, options, and pros and cons, which facilitate them to decide and act appropriately. So ito, makikita natin ano ba yung mga elements na nakapaloob, paano mo masasabi na ang isang session ay isang counseling session at hindi lamang siya consultation? Maaari kasing nagagamit natin interchangeably yung counseling as a term sa iba pang termino na ginagamit na nakasanayan na. Hindi porke kinausap natin yung bata ng one-on-one, automatic yon ay counseling na. Hindi po natin sasabihin na kinausap ko na siya, hindi na yan magpapasaway, natuto na yan, counseling agad. Hindi po siya ganon, ano? So, maaring tingnan po nating mabuti kung ano ang definition dahil nakapaloob din po dito yung iba pang mga factors na nakakaapekto din doon sa ating process na gagawin para sa hapon na ito. So, dito po pupuntosan ko yung well-planned, goal-oriented, and short-term intervention. At mamaya, papakita namin ano yung pagkakaiba nito dito sa therapy at ano rin yung pagkakaiba niya sa mga consultation. Meron din tayong isa pang bagay na i-discuss later, which is yung referral. Ayan po. Magkasama po sila lagi, counseling and referral. So, referral is one of the guidance services where learners are provided with assistance in obtaining specialized services. So, ito po, kasama din sa referral system yung intervention ng counseling. Mamaya po, i-discuss din namin isa-isa kung paano yung magiging procedure natin sa referral at ano yung mga specific na dapat nating tingnan sa guidelines pagdating din sa ating counseling.
Okay, Ma'am Jonah, sususugan ko lang yung sinabi mo kanina, yung proseso ng counseling. Kasi ito naging problema rin to nung nasa guidance din ako before. Minsan nagkakaroon kasi ng misconception kung ano ba yung purpose ng counseling. Akala nila, pag sinabing magpapa-counseling ako, ibig sabihin tayo yung magbibigay ng solusyon sa kanilang problema. So, mali po yung ganung mali po yung ganung definition. So, ang ginagawa sa counseling, nagkakaroon ng face-to-face, syempre. Kailangan maipakita sa bata, sila mismo ang makaka-realize or ipaprocess nila yung kanilang problema. So, makita nila yung big picture ng problems and then matulungan silang i-process kung ano yung mga possible options na maaari nilang piliin upang makapag-decide sila para sa kanilang ikabubuti.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, pag sabi nating counseling, of course, dapat nagiging planado ito na hindi ito basta-basta binibigay ng walang kaplano-plano o walang malinaw na goal, no? Kaya nga sinasabi natin, right after the intake, right after you have taken the data from the client, you have to really conceptualize and define how the intervention would go. At ini-espouse natin ngayon yung evidence-based practice of counseling, no? At hindi tayo nagsasabi na dapat maging dependent ang ating mga counselists sa atin kapag balik sila ng balik. Siyempre, ang kaya nga sinabi dito, ito ay short term. Ibig sabihin, we already calculated how the sessions would go. Of course, lagi tayong nakaantabay doon sa progress at sa development ng ating client, no? So, yung definition that was presented a while ago really captures what the counseling should have been or should be in the schools.
Opo. Actually, sir, no, dun sa mga inyo pong mga na-share ngayon, nakikita talaga natin na gaano ka-importante ang isang guidance counselor, no, especially mga licensed counselors. Dahil katulad nga po nung nabanggit nyo kasi kanina, sir, hindi naman ibig sabihin na pabalik-balik yung bata nagiging effective na, no, as a counselor yung isang professional. Pero nakikita din po dito yung talagang skill, no, yung competency ng isang counselor kung talagang systematic, no, yung kanyang pag-provide ng assistance sa ating mga estudyante. Sige po, kung nandito rin lang tayo, sir, sa referral, no, I think ito yung pinaka pwede talagang ma-provide, no, na assistance na ating mga guidance designates, especially guidance designates and school head. Paano po ba yung hakbang ng pag-refer natin, lalo na po ngayon?
In terms of pag-refer ng ating mga learners, may ginawa tayong guidelines or procedures para lang maging systematic at organisado yung pag-refer ng ating mga bata. So una, the teacher or advisor shall accomplish the attached referral form or yung Annex E doon sa ating DMC memo. And then, yung Annex E, I think kung nabasa niyo na po yung guidelines do, I think majority sa mga attendees ngayon ay hindi pa nakapagbasa, no? Pero malaking bagay po sa totoo lang na mabasa niyo muna yung guidelines para pa magkaroon tayo ng complete appreciation kung ano ba itong tinatawag nating referral form. And the referral form shall be submitted to the guidance counselor via electronic mail, o kung hindi po kaya, of course, we do recognize yung current limitations na we have, no, because of pandemic. It can be a physical submission while observing the confidentiality. So sino yung mga mag-a-accomplish nito, later on pa madidiscuss natin kung sino yung dapat mag-refer. And then, upon receipt of the referral form, the guidance counselor shall assess, evaluate, and provide the schedule for intake interview or other services that may be deemed necessary to address the needs of the learners. So sinasabi po natin na, of course, we do recognize na may mga pagkakataon na kailangan na talagang kausapin ng bata o kailangan na ng agarang atensyon ng bata, ano. Kaya may mga pagkakataon na pwede silang i-schedule, may mga pagkakataon din naman na talagang immediately kailangan bigyan ng atensyon ng guidance counselor. So the guidance counselor shall inform the teacher or advisor that the learner has been given attention. So kapag ongoing na yung session ng bata sa guidance counselor, what the guidance counselor would give the teacher or the advisor is just an info that the learner is being given the necessary attention. Ganun lang kasimple. Hindi tayo nagbibigay ng detalye dahil, of course, we still practice the confidentiality of our session. So this is the counseling referral form. Ito po yung makikita nila doon sa nilabas nating guidelines. Maganda po na makita po nila ito upang magkaroon ng grasp kung paano dapat mag-refer. So sa unang bahagi po niya, nandyan po yung information about the student at ano yung dahilan ng pag-refer at ano yung initial actions taken, no, ng nag-refer. So kung wala naman, pwede namang ilagay dyan kung this is the first time that I am referring the student because I observed this, no? And then, pwedeng ilagay din dyan, yung GCO po is Guidance and Counseling Office, no? So, kung nag-agree estudyante o hindi, and then yung parents' name, of course, mahalaga po yung guardian's information, ano, lalong-lalo na kapag a matter of life and death situation, kakailanganin po yan. Andyan din po yung acknowledgement form para po magkaroon ng affirmation na tayo po ay yung ating referral ay natanggap po ng dapat makatanggap at this time ito nga po ay guidance counselor. At dito po sa kabila, makikita nyo po dyan yung guidelines in referring learners to GCO. At ito din po yung bahagi na kung saan mga suggestions on how you are going to talk to the learner. So, andito din po sa ibaba yung mga steps na dapat nating sundin sa pag-refer. So, kung napapansin niyo po, kompleto na po ito. Madali na lang pong sundin o sundan para po magamit. I think yung aking mga kasamahan dito na RGC ay may idadagdag pa tungkol dito.
Yes, Sir Mark. So, napaka-importante po talaga ng referral system kasi kinakailangan natin nito ng mga internal partners, kagaya ng mga co-counselors natin sa ibang schools, mga nurses, school administrators, and also yung mga external partners natin, kunwari mga government and non-government agencies or organizations na tutulong sa ating guidance and counseling program. And then, napaka-importante rin na ito yung mga napapractice talaga sa field to, yung mga guidance counselor natin na may mga kaibigan sa mga organization katulad ng PGCA, IPCAP, PAP, PMHA. So ito yung mga kapartner natin sa ating profesyon na tutulong talaga sa atin. So willing silang tumulong at magbigay ng mga service na makakatulong para sa ating mga learners.
Okay. Sige po. Yes, Ma'am Jonah?
Yes, dagdag lang din po ano. So the very first thing na kailangan, siguro right after this orientation, you can start with establishing partnerships, no? Kasi mahirap na kapag nandiyan na yung case or nandito na yung problem, tsaka lang tayo maghahanap ng partners natin. So saang level ba ng governance? Medyo magpo-forward lang ako ng konti, ano? Saang level ba ng governance ginagawa itong partnership? Actually, meron tayo sa division office, no? Merong, actually si Sir Carlo ay part niyan, ano? Mamaya, bibigyan niya tayo ng konting background about his work as a partnership coordinator, I think, ng Division of Angeles City. And also, you can do it sa school level. We can establish partnerships early on para at least maplano din natin kung paano yung magiging referral, the procedure itself, makikita natin na ano yung feasible para sa school. Kasi we are all aware na may kakulangan sa ating guidance counselors, maaring marami na ding marami na ring assignment yung ating mga guidance designates. We are all aware about it and kinakailangan talaga natin ng tulong, no? Sige po, thank you.
Tama
Okay.
po, Ma'am Zona. Ay, sige po, sir. Or can I share my experience po
Go ahead,
as
sir.
social?
Go ahead.
Yes po. Actually po, no, yun ang tama po yun na kailangan ready tayo kahit papano, lalo na po pagka may mga ganitong klaseng pinag-uusapan. That's why sa Division of Angeles City po, we are encouraging our schools, especially po spearheaded by the Division Office, na maghanap po ng mga partners, no, especially yung mga organizations po like PGCA, which is very supportive po sa ating mga counselors, as well as the private schools po na pwede nating itap. Sabihin lang po natin na may mga limitations pa rin, pero even yung consultations po ng isang mismong counselor sa isang kapwa counselor is very important at vital po, no, sa mga ganong klaseng situation. And more so dun sa mga pwede nating i-refer, no, lalong-lalo na kung ito pong eskwelahan na to o yung mga counselor nito willing talaga. And para po mag-materialize yun, no, we should formulate an agreement like a memorandum of agreement or understanding para po at least binded tayo dun sa commitment para matulungan yung isang estudyante. And I believe po sa ibang mga division office and schools, pwede po nilang gawing itong ganitong klaseng effort, no, para po mabigyan ng somehow ma-address itong mga ganitong klaseng problem natin, especially sa ating mga counselors sa DepEd na talagang kulang na kulang. Kaya po kailangan talaga natin gumawa ng paraan, no, kahit papaano ma-address itong mga ganitong klaseng concerns. Yun po. Sir Mark?
Yeah, speaking of referral, no, ang sinasabi lang natin, of course, may form na tayo kung paano i-document yung pag-refer. Siyempre, magiging tanong dyan ay, kailan dapat mag-refer? So, of course, it's imperative that we know the red flags once we observe these sa ating mga estudyante. Though naka-distance learning modality tayo, subalit may mga pagkakataon na kung saan ma-observe pa din natin ang mga ito. So una nga dyan, yung talks aloud and distracts others in class, no? Though sabi ko nga naka distance learning modality tayo, bagamat yung iba naka-online, online class, so ibig sabihin may mga pagkakataon pa rin na posibleng makita kung yung estudyante ba ay nakakapag-distract ng klase. At ito ay, ang pinag-usapan natin ditong behavior ay on a regular basis, no? Hindi naman ito isang beses lang or sasabi natin na nagkataon lang, no? It has to be a pattern that should merit, no, our referral. And of course, nandiyan din yung pagiging late or absent, though hindi siya masyadong ma-observe nowadays sa ating distance learning modality. But of course, kapag yung mga nag-online class, no, alam natin yan na kakayanin nating makita kung lagi bang absent sa klase o hindi yung ating mga estudyante. Gayun din naman yung performs very poorly in both oral and written exams. Of course, we have to look into saan nanggagaling yung bata, bakit medyo poor ang kanyang performance academically. Hindi natin alam, baka yung iba sa kanila ay may mga special needs na kailangan nating pagtuunan ng pansin at bigyan ng na mga suggestion upang matulungan sila. And very very timely din itong shows lack of interest and motivation in his or her studies. Alam natin na sa kasalukuyan, napakahirap ng buhay at ramdam natin yun ngayon bilang nasa pandemic at hindi gumaganda yung estado ng ating health status, no, as a country. At madami dahil sa hirap, madami nawawalan ng interest, nawawalan ng positibong pagtingin sa buhay, at ito ang pwede nating tingnan kung paano natin matutulungan ang ating mga estudyante. Yung aking mga kasamang panelists dito, I think makakadagdag din tungkol dito sa mga red flags kung kailan dapat mag-refer ng ating mga estudyante.
Okay, Sir Mark, naalala ko lang kasi before, sabi na magpapakamatay siya, so parang hindi masyadong pinapansin kasi baka daw papansin or what. Pero sa ngayon talaga, ang sabi dun sa mga na-attendan natin ng mga seminar about suicide, once na nagsalita ang bata na gusto niya magpakamatay or parang sawa na siya sa buhay niya, dapat ma-alarm daw ang mga guidance counselor or mga parents or teachers about this situation. Kasi once na sinabi nila yon, so maaring nilang maituloy yon, lalo na kung tatanungin mo sila ng tatanungin kung ano ba yung mga bagay na nakakaapekto sa kanila bilang bilang isang estudyante, ano ba yung mga nararanasan nila. So kadalasan naman kasi ang mga bata na may mga suicidal tendency, talagang gusto nila humingi ng tulong. So hindi lang nila alam kung paano at kung sino ang lalapitan. So very timely talaga itong ating policy. At least magkakaroon ng linaw ang mga guidance counselor, guidance advocates, principal, para pag sa ganitong sitwasyon, lalo na hindi talaga kaya i-handle ng mga guidance advocates yung mga ganitong sitwasyon. At least hindi na sila mangangamba na baka magkamali sila or baka maapektuhan din ang kanilang lisensya bilang isang teacher. So, yun ang aking pananaw dito sa ating policy.
Okay po. Actually, sir, no, may add din ako dun sa mga red flags. Pinaka-common ngayon is yung self-harming, no? Nakikita natin yan na may mga estudyante na talagang they try to cut their wrists, no? And marami pong studies na nagsasabi na may mga instances na hindi naman sila into suicidal, pero it's a red flag. Still, it's a red flag na pwede pong associated doon. Kaya po mas maganda talaga na bigyan ng pansin itong mga to. At makikita natin, no, talagang punong-puno yung discussion natin ngayong hapon na to. Nandito pa lang tayo sa referral. I think we need to take a break for a while to have this a short activity na ipapacilitate po ni Miss Cindy. Miss Cindy?
So, ayan po, that was really a very engaging discussion. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Tina, very timely itong ating guidelines kasi during this time, we really need guidelines and yung directions and how we do things relevant in relevance to mental health. But ikat po muna natin this time. We would like to know your thoughts on the discussion. So we'll do the same process. Please go to menti.com and provide the code 91276019 and please type in your thoughts relevant to the discussion a while ago. Again, our code is 91276019. Yes, Ma'am Ika, can you share the screen now? Okay, enlightened, informative, interesting, effective. So it's really hard to be a guidance coordinator, according to one of the participants. I am thinking for the most difficult part of an RDC. So very informative, helpful information. Teachers should understand how children think. So I hope our panelists are listening. Thanks for your shared thoughts and experiences. I am learning. So support funds for referral system. The discussion is very timely and relevant. The role of teachers in guiding our learners in this time of pandemic. Is this i-request po ba? So it takes courage to be a guidance advocate. I must agree po with you. The previous discussion is very informative. There's a question here, where to find the copy of the guidelines. So later, it will be announced po by our moderator. All we want to know is how can we do it effectively during this new normal. So I think this is an very important question. So this will be discussed po later. Express our care and concern to our students by uplifting their spirit. Suicidal is addressed in this policy. Very informative discussion. So this one, it's a good thing to know that we have this kind of topic, especially during these trying times. Yes po, I agree with you po. Okay, so hindi ko man po mabasa lahat, but these are all documented. So last one po, informative. Ayan. So I think it's time for us to go back to the discussion. So we'll be able to discuss more about the thoughts that you have shared through our Mentimeter. Sir Carlo?
Yes po, ma'am. Cindy, thank you very much po. Okay, I think masyadong rich yung part na yon, which is pwede pa nating i-expound, no? Sir Mark, may mga idadagdag po ba kayo?
Yes. Unang-una, we are telling our audience here that referral is very important. Number one, we have to refer students because we are not students with mental health issues or concerns. Because number one, our teachers or even guidance designates are not trained to do that. Of course, we have to respect each other's academic preparation. And alam naman natin na kapag guidance counselor, they are really trained and educated to handle mental health issues and concerns. And as to our guidance designate, syempre sila ang extension ng ating guidance services, no? What they can do is to refer our students. Kasi ano mangyayari kapag hindi nila ni-refer at sabi nila, ay sir, nag-counseling po kami. What will happen? Chances are, you might not be helping the right way yung ating estudyante. And secondly, you might not be prepared for a possible negative impact ng hinahawakan mong kaso. Kaya ang sinasabi natin lagi, let us avoid double whammy, no, na hindi mo natulungan yung bata at nagkaroon pa ng negative effect sa iyo yung paghawak mo sa kaso. Being in the profession, I experienced teachers, of course, because of their love and compassion dun sa estudyante, they are trying to actually employ counseling in their own understanding of counseling. But since it is a professionalized profession, sinasabi natin that it is very technical in nature, that that someone has to be trained and to obtain license to do it. Kasi ang mangyayari diyan kapag based on my experience, no, na nagkakaroon ng negative effect doon sa humahawak, no, na teacher or sinasabi nating adult, no, dahil hindi niya alam kung paano i-manage, lalo na kung may clinical conditions yung bata o may mga suicidal ideations. Kaya po sinasabi natin, you have to master and be familiar with the red flags, no? para alam po natin that this is already out of hand and we need someone who is really knowledgeable and prepared for any mental health concerns. Kaya babalikan ko lang din na ito pa yung ibang red flags like kapag nakita natin na nag-isolate na yung bata, all of a sudden sa kanyang mga grupo, ganun din naman kapag bakit siya laging pagod o nag-aalala o may anxiety or nakakaranas ng depression, irritable or galit. Fails to submit work on time, though later on this behavior will be qualified dahil syempre nasa konteksto tayo ng pandemic. And then manifest deterioration in grooming or hygiene. May mga pagkakataon na nakikita natin yung mga estudyante halos hindi natutulog. At pati yung grooming at yung hygiene is also an indicator that we need to refer students. Why? Because it's a form of self-care. Kapag pag nagsisimula ng mapabayaan ng bata at naging pattern na niya ang poor grooming at hygiene, ibig sabihin yung self-care niya ay nababawasan, which is not actually good. And then yung show sign of dramatic weight loss or gain, yung biglaan, hindi na, alam naman natin kapag healthy yung pag-weight gain at yung pag-weight loss, kapag ganon ay syempre it can be one of the indicators that something is happening with our student. And of course, ang pinaka-seryoso, syempre, ay yung kapag nag-share na sila tungkol sa suicide. So, anything about suicide, any jokes or statements, social media postings about suicide of our students should be taken seriously. So, sinasabi natin na kanina, nasa pandemic context tayo, at baka tanungin nyo, sir, yung mga estudyante naman talaga late sila mag-submit ng mga trabaho nila o ng kanilang output. At sinasabi nyo na isa yon sa mga dahilan para mag-refer ng estudyante. Let me qualify that. Of course, failure to submit work on time behavior should be a function of mental health of students and not brought about by the current setup. So, dapat maging malinaw yun sa atin kasi baka pagkatapos nito, yung ating mga teachers at yung guidance designate ay mag-refer ng mga estudyanteng late mag-submit ng trabaho nila. So, ensure lang that it is not a function of their mental health. Yung pagsasubmit kasi alam naman natin na napakahirap mag-submit ng mga completed modules ngayon, napakahirap mag-submit ng mga written work, dahil pandemic. Pero kung napapansin nyo, halimbawa kung yan ay online, at before, a student used to submit on time, pero biglang all of a sudden may change, o naging dramatic yung pagiging tardy niya o pagiging late ng submission. And then only to find out that something's happening actually or disturb yung bata. So things like that. So I hope this is already clear kasi isa ito sa mga naka-indicate sa ating behaviors na nagsiserve as red flag. So it has to be qualified and it has to be a function of mental health.
Sir Mark, sususugan ko lang itong binigay nating red flag na sinasabi mo. So dahil nga sa pandemya ngayon, hindi natin maiiwasan na marami ang mga may possibility na yung mga learners natin ay may mga namatay silang magulang, kapatid, or kaanak. And at the same time, syempre, isa rin sa mga nagiging problema bukod sa financial difficulties, yung modalities din ng ating na binibigay sa mga bata. So maaaring isa yan sa mga dahilan kung bakit din hindi sila nakakapag-submit ng on time sa mga kanilang output. So siguro dapat i-consider din natin itong mga factors na to.
Yes. And in addition din, siguro as a preventive measure, maging aware din o ma-orient ang ating mga parents tungkol dito sa red flag kasi the only person na kasama ng mga bata ngayon na madalas ay kanilang mga magulang o yung mga kasama nila sa bahay. So we hope that through this, kumbaga yung inspiration din nitong ating memorandum about counseling and referral, magkaroon din or mag-cascade ng orientation para sa ating mga magulang o sa mga kaanak tungkol dito sa mga red flags na ito. Kasi kung tayo lang ang nakakaalam at wala rin naman tayong means, hindi tayo pwedeng mag-home visit ngayon. Definitely. Much as we want na mag-extend ng effort, lalo na sa ating mga guidance advocates, sa guidance counselors, to help out dito sa napakaraming mga bata na hindi nakakapag-comply sa kanilang mga requirements, meron din po tayong mga limitations in relation to this. Definitely, ang ating home visitation hindi pa pwede. So, kailangan may preventive measures tayo. Bago natin tingnan yung counseling and referral, makabuo din tayo sa ating guidance program. Ano ba yung mga kakailanganing orientation o mga information na kailangan i-disseminate sa ating mga learners, sa ating mga magulang, at gayon din sa lahat ng teachers at personnel na nasa eskwelahan. So yun po yung napaka-importante.
Tama, Ma'am Jonah, no? Makikita natin dito yung importansya po ng information service, no? Lalo na ngayong nasa blended learning po tayo, no? So itong mga school heads po natin at itong ating mga guidance designates can initiate, no, an orientation or kahit po na pumustahan, no, sa ating mga magulang at ipaalam po sa kanila itong importansya, no, ng pag-avail ng counseling, or kung wala man po yung ating openness sa ganitong klaseng services, no, ay mapabatid natin sa ating mga magulang. Kasi alam naman po natin na hindi lahat ng magulang open sa mga ganitong klaseng mga pagkakataon or problema. Sige po. Let's talk about po yung ano po ba ang pwedeng gawin ng isang guidance counselor designate.
Okay, parang nagpapakiramdaman kami, ano, pasensya na po at ano, talagang may mga pagkakaiba-ibang ating internet connection. Okay, so ano bang pwedeng gawin? Kanina inihapag po namin sa inyo yung mga signs and symptoms o yung mga red flags na sinasabi natin kung saan dapat nating tandaan upang mag-refer ng estudyante. Ngayon, ano yung pwede niyong gawin? Ito ay very relevant, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga principal, school heads, at sa ating guidance designates. No? So, if you observe any of the behaviors presented a while ago, here's how to proceed. Sabi ko nga, ito ay nandoon sa ating referral form. Okay, mababasa nyo na po ito. Pero gusto lang po namin puntusan na you have to inform the learner and or the parent regarding the behavioral patterns that you have observed in a professional and confidential manner. At ito po ay dapat non-judgmental. No? So, laging factual lang po yung pagbibigay natin ng feedback regarding sa behavioral patterns ng bata. Halimbawa, sinasabi niyo po na napansin ko na madalas uminit ang iyong ulo kapag kinakausap ka ng mga kaklase mo. Di kaya napansin ko na lagi kang late mag-submit ng iyong project. Okay? So, you are actually stating a fact and you are not labeling them. Kasi iba naman yung sinasabi natin na napansin ko galit ka lagi o di kaya napansin ko ang hina ng anger management mo. Hindi po ganon. So, ang sinasabi natin lagi ay yung behavioral patterns, yung po yung sasabihin natin sa magulang o sa bata. At syempre, tayo ay nasa panahon ng pandemic at mapapansin po natin yan, lalo na yung mga nag-online class, no? Kapag the way they relate with their group mates or the way they perform their performance tasks, no? Yung sa iba naman po, syempre tanggap natin ang mga limitations, pero tinitingnan natin na kapag nagkaroon ng face-to-face, itong referral form ay magagamit pa rin po natin. So kapag tapos po natin sabihin yung mga behavioral patterns in a non-judgmental way, uulitin ko po dapat factual, hindi po tayo nagla-label kapag sinasabi po natin yung feedback na ito. Pangalawa po ay kailangan natin makinig sa tao. May mga pagkakataon na tayong mga guidance advocate, halimbawa, ay lalapitan tayo ng mga estudyante or minsan magchat-chat yung mga yan, you just listen to the person or minsan you just let them pour out kasi hindi naman tayo pwedeng mag-counseling. So, or hindi tayo pwede agad mag-suggest ng mga immediate na gagawin nila at wag po natin ikukumpara yung ating buhay sa buhay nila. Remember, ibang kakaiba po tayo ng panahon, magkakaiba po tayo ng settings at hindi po kagaya ng buhay natin ang buhay ng ating mga estudyante. So, ingat na ingat po dapat tayo magbigay ng mga suggestions or even advice kung paano nila gagawin ang o pagharap no sa kanilang sitwasyon. What you can do on however ay you may encourage the learners to avail counseling services no provided by the guidance and counseling office for free. Now, sabi niya, sir, wala naman pong RGC sa school namin, paano naman po yun? Later on po, madidiscuss po natin yung iba't ibang sitwasyon na kung saan kung paano po mag-a-avail ng mga bata ng counseling, no? With or without an RGC doon sa school at kung paano yung pwedeng paraan natin. Yung aking mga colleagues, would you like to add some more on this one?
Yes, Sir Mark. Gusto ko lang idagdag, no? Actually naman, ang mga counselor and guidance advocates, talagang meron silang mga ginagawa sa ngayon, even though pandemya, nakikita ko sa FB na nagko-conduct sila ng orientation sa mga parents, and then sinasabi rin nila kung yung mga available na services sa kanilang school, and gusto ko rin i-acknowledge yung mga principals na nagko-conduct ng mga inset nila na related talaga sa pandemya. So nagbibigay sila ng mga webinar na kung saan ang mga teacher kasi mga parents din yan, di ba? So may mga estudyante sila na tinuturuan sa basic education and at the same time, nagtuturo rin sila. So meron din sila mga pinagdaraanan, so na-stress din sila. So nagko-conduct ang mga school kung paano nila ma-address itong mga dinaranas hindi lang ng mga learners, pati ng ating mga teachers. Ma'am
Yes po.
Jonah?
Ma'am Jonah? Okay. So I think meron din po akong input dito sa part na to, no. Dito po makikita yung importansya ng boundaries actually ng isang guidance designate, no, sa mga ganitong klaseng pagkakataon. Kaya po mas mainam talaga na mabasa natin ng maayos, no, yung ating sa referral system para makita po natin kung saan bang role, saan ba papasok si guidance designate, lalong-lalo na pagka nasa referral tayo. Or kaya ba niyang i-perform, which is I think yun ang lagi ang tanong, kaya ba niyang mag-perform ng counseling? Pero sasagutin ko na po, no, dahil po sa ating batas hindi po talaga allowed si guidance designate na mag-provide ng counseling. Bagkus malaki din po ang role niya na mabigyan ng counseling itong batang ito through referral. Kaya po napaka-importante na may mga external partners po tayo, no, na pwedeng lapitan lalong-lalo na sa mga ganitong klaseng pagkakataon. Yes, Ma'am Zona?
Yes, exactly po, Sir Carlo. No, I was about to say yun nga, yung regarding sa boundaries, and at the same time, kasi sa setup natin sa Department of Education, medyo nakakaroon din ng, medyo nakakalito, no? Kasi noon, pagdating sa referral, medyo limited. Pagdating sa school, ang tangi lang na makakapag-refer ay ang advisor papunta sa guidance designate or sa guidance counselor kung meron sila. So ngayon, hindi lang tayo matatapos doon sa since wala yung school na guidance counselor, wala ng counseling na mangyayari. Definitely, kailangan nating hanapan ng paraan kung paano yung kung saan natin siya i-refer. Sa ganung mamaya, ipapakita natin ano yung mga scenario na maaring walang guidance counselor or walang, definitely lahat kailangan may guidance designate. Doon naman tayo dapat klarado. Lahat ng school, elementary hanggang high school, dapat may guidance designate kasi napakalaki ng role niya sa referral system. So dito, madidelineate natin hanggang saan lang ang magiging trabaho ng guidance designate at ano yung beyond doon sa hindi na magagawa ng the guidance designate at kung walang guidance counselor na available na RGC, no? So yun. Malaking bagay ito kahit nga sa pananaw ko, kahit yung may mga suicidal thoughts and tendencies if ever, no? Kasi may tao na nasasalo mismo doon sa school. Hindi kasi walang guidance counselor o wala kasing palantilya, walang may item ng guidance and counseling dito sa school na to. Kaya nga, through this policy, through these guidelines, no, ini-encourage natin lahat ng school mag-designate na kayo ng inyong guidance designate, no? Para meron pong mag-function as to the referral. Yung mga susunod na layers po ng referral, papunta doon sa mga iba't ibang intervention, be it legal, be it counseling or clinical, lahat po yan ay hahanapan naman ng paraan kung sakasakali through the partnership. Ayun po. So maraming salamat po.
Yun,
Yes po.
dagdag ko lang, Sir Carlo.
Yes po, sir.
Siyempre, sinasabi natin na itong pinapakita natin ngayon, ito yung mga posible nilang gawin, na kapag may lumapit sa kanila, ano yung gagawin nila? Definitely, they cannot perform counseling, lalo na kung di sila kung di sila equipped for that. At so kausapin lang, makinig, no, at encourage na mag-avail ng counseling services. Mahalaga yung paggalang doon sa tao, no, kahit yan ay estudyanteng umiiyak o estudyante na musmos, no, mahalaga mapakinggan natin yon. Subalit, titingnan din natin na may mga learners na pwedeng mag-refuse sa pagre-refer, no? At okay lang yon. Hindi naman dapat pinapwersa ang counseling o yung pagre-refer sa ating mga estudyante. However, ito yung kailangan nilang tandaan, no? If his or her behavior endangers one's well-being and those of others, kapag naging threat sila sa security ng iba, o dahil sa behavior na yun, sinasaktan na nila yung sarili nila o yung ibang tao, na kung saan posibleng mag-cause ng buhay ng iba, yan ay dapat ng i-refer talaga, whether may consent o wala ng learner. Pero syempre mahalaga yung consent ng magulang kasi yan ay minor, no? Ngayon, in the event na, sir, ayaw pumayag ng magulang kasi hindi naman daw yan, may mga pagkakataon na in denial yung magulang, no? Ang kailangan lang po doon ay i-black and white yung pag-ayaw, no? Para siyang waiver na hindi na umaayaw yung magulang sa pag-avail ng counseling services or even ng referral natin patungo sa iba't ibang mental health specialists or mental health experts. Kasi ito po ay usapin ng accountability, lalo kapag may nangyari sa bata at ni-refer sa atin, mga guidance counselor, at hinanapan po tayo ng mga intervention. Siyempre, we have to document everything, no, na ginagawa natin. Ito po ay accountability. At kapag ang magulang ay umayaw na i-refer yung kanilang mga estudyante, ang kanilang mga anak rather, yan ay dapat well documented. At ito po yung pangahawakan natin kapag nagkaroon ng habulan in terms of accountability dahil may buhay na nawala.
Okay, sir. Sobrang dami nating mga nakukuha, no, na takeaways, no, lalong-lalo na dito sa referral. Pero sir, dumako naman tayo dun sa kung sino-sino po ba yung mga pwede mag-refer ng mga estudyante. Ng mga estudyante, I mean.
Yeah, yung mga pwedeng mag-refer o gumamit ng ating referral form, yan ay pwedeng gamitin ng mga magulang o guardian. Of course, yung ating guidance advocate or guidance designate, yung ating mga principal or administrators, pwede nilang gamitin yan. Yung ating mga teachers, pwede din mag-refer, o kahit yung ating mga school staff or school personnel kapag may mga napapansin na karapat dapat i-refer. At gayon din naman yung mga immediate family member, lalo napakaseryoso ng sitwasyon ng ating mga estudyante, no? Ang ginagawa ko dyan when I was still in the school level, no, ang ginagawa ko dyan, kinakalat ko sa faculty room, nilalagyan ko, transmit ko isa-isa sa bawat opisina yung referral form ng mga bata, para sa mga bata. At yung iba't ibang opisina, tinatransmit ko talaga para officially alam nila na available referral forms doon. O yung may pagkakataon pa na pwede siyang gawing online, no? Kaya lang, ang danger lang sa online, dapat yung security o yung confidentiality ng referral na completely filled out ay dapat mapasa kamay agad-agad, no, ng guidance and counseling office or guidance counselor.
Okay, sir. Sir, I think pwede din natin ditong isama itong mga ating mga guidance counselors din, no? Kasi may mga cases naman talaga na beyond din sa ating expertise, no? Na pwede din tayong mag-refer as long as mabigay natin siya dun sa right, no? Na professional na pwede mag-address nun. Sige po.
Yeah, at
Tama po.
tama ka,
Sige po.
Carlo, dagdag ko lang no na yung ating referral naman ay pwedeng internal. When you say internal, these people, ito yung mga nakapresent, could actually refer the students to guidance counselor. However, tayo mga guidance counselor, ito tayong mga RGC, dapat aware din tayo, mindful din tayo sa ating limitations. No? Alam naman natin na hindi lahat ng kaso ng mental health ay kaya nating hawakan. Dapat maging particular tayo doon dahil unang-una, ang goal natin lagi sa mental health ay matulungan, no? At hindi makasama sa ating mga kliyente. Kaya napakalaking bagay ng ating sensitivity sa ating limitations at sa ating forte, no? Kung alam naman natin na hindi natin matutulungan yung ganitong kaso, then might as well have the way to really refer the student to the right professional na well-trained, no? Halimbawa kung ako, I must admit, no, I'm not really comfortable handling yung ating mga elders, no, for counseling. I'm not really into that. I'm not trained for that. Gayon din naman yung iba't ibang mga clinical cases na halimbawa yung multiple personality disorders. Of course, that's beyond my training. So I have to refer that to the right specialist. Hindi dahil hindi ko kaya at kundi dahil gusto ko mapabuti at mas maibigay yung best quality na mental health service para sa ating kliyente. So we are always after the welfare of our clients. Kaya po dapat maging aware tayo sa ating mga limitations at sa ating forte bilang RGC.
Okay, sir. Sige, sir. Dumako naman po tayo dun sa paano po ba nangyaring referral being handled by an RGC?
Okay. Sir Carlo, referral being handled by an RGC. The guidance counselor shall inform the parent, learner, teacher, advisor only if necessary, and the school head about the referral. Consent shall be obtained from parent or guardian. So, napaka-importante po na meron tayong approval sa parent ng bata. Kasi may mga cases din kasi na, for example, ang bata pala ay sexually abused or bali nasa within the family yung abuser or yung perpetrator. So, minsan, dun pa lang sa part ng parent, talagang hindi sila papayag. Siyempre, di ba, magkakaroon ng problem in terms of their family. So, ayaw nilang malaman ng iba yung nangyayari. So, yan po isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit may mga parent na ayaw din nilang ibigay na magkaroon ng referral system dun sa issue na yun. Pero hindi naman po lahat ganun ang mga nangyayari. And then number 2, schools or the school division's office shall refer the learner to the nearest and most accessible institution that provides mental health services. So that's why napaka-importante talaga na magkaroon ng internal and external partner tayo, mga schools. So kaya meron tayong mga friends, 'di ba, sa mga private organization na nagbibigay ng services or free services para sa atin sa Department of Education. So I remember meron isang division na humingi ng help sa isang organization na kung saan nagbigay ng free seminar sa mga guidance advocates, and then wala siyang bayad. So ang pinrovide lang ng school or ng division ay yung venue, and then the rest doon na sa isang private organization. So kailangan talaga meron din tayong mga yung ating connection para makatulong dito sa ating referral and counseling policy. Okay, so number 3, so the guidance counselor shall prepare the letter of referral to the specific professional and agency or institution. The letter shall include basic information about the learner, reason for referral, and type of intervention needed. So napaka-importante na itong mga information na to ay naka-indicate doon sa referral form. Kasi dito pa lang malalaman na kung ano ba yung issue ng bata or ano bang intervention ng pwedeng ibigay. So before siya mag-conduct ng interview, makita pa lang din niya doon sa information kung ano yung situation ng isang learner. Kung anong reason bakit siya ni-refer.
Miss Tina, dagdag ko lang, no, yung kapag nag-refer ang guidance counselor palabas, this is an external referral, no, sa mga psychologists or psychiatrists or sa ibang mental health professional. Minsan nag-iiba ang diagnosis ng isang psychologist or psychiatrist doon sa sitwasyon ng bata. So magandang tingnan din ito bilang ibang perspective naman, no, sa sabi nating need for intervention ng ating mga clients. Kasi tayong mga guidance counselor, we have our own lens of looking at the situation of the learners. However, kapag dating yan sa labas in a more clinical manner, or sabi nating kapag tinignan na yan ng psychiatrist or psychologist, iba din ang magiging findings nila. So, hence, sometimes we need to collaborate with them, no? Kasi may mga tanong yan, lalong-lalo na sa mga predisposition ng ating mga bata.
Yes, no. In relation also to this, kasi hindi naman laging pagdating sa referral, hindi siya laging sa mental health. Though ang purpose natin is referral on halimbawa sa counseling and other mental health interventions. So there will be other requirements na manggagaling sa mismong agency, like say for example DSWD, kung kailangang alisin or kung kailangang magkaroon ng custody, kumbaga may mga custody issues halimbawa sa abuse, no? Kailangan kasi sila ilagay sa shelter if ever. So ito po ay included din sa mga kakailanganing gawin o i-accomplish ng guidance counselor. So kaya po maganda na other than this policy, aware din tayo sa iba pang polisiya ng ibang agencies in relation sa referral because we cannot expect them also. Meron po kayong local DSWD or the municipal or the parang MSWD sa kanya-kanyang lugar ninyo, you can coordinate with them if in case there's a need to refer a student or a learner na ang magre-refer mismo yung guidance counselor or in some cases, ang school head mismo yung nire-require na mag-refer. So dito sa referral system, magva-vary din siya pagdating sa pangangailangan na services ng bata sa iba't ibang government or non-government organizations. Yun lang po.
Yes, sir. Ayan.
Okay, so for number 4, okay, the guidance counselor shall monitor the learner's progress status by securing the contact information of the professional and agency or organization where the learner is referred. So ito po, importante rin na hindi porket na-refer natin tapos na nag-end na yung responsibilities ng guidance counselor or ng guidance advocate. So dapat meron tayong follow-up and at the same time may follow-through. Ano na ba yung nangyari dun sa mga batang ni-refer natin, sa mga internal and external partners natin. So para magkaroon tayo ng complete background dun sa mga nire-refer natin. So maaring ding maging avenue to para sa isang action research na nalaman natin na marami pala tayong mga estudyante na nire-refer na ang concern ay suicidal. So sa mga ganitong datos na importante, maaari tayong makagawa ng mga research para magkaroon tayo ng, makapag-provide tayo ng intervention program dito sa mga issues na nare-raise ng ating guidance office, na mas marami tayong referral in terms of suicidal behavior.
Okay. Sige po. Yes, sir. Pag-usapan naman po natin ngayon kung ano po ba ang proseso, no? Kung ang isang division or school ay walang RGC, no? Or meron siyang RGC, or sa division ay may RGC or wala. So ito po actually ang dito pwede nating masabi na pinakahinihintay, no, ng ating mga guidance designates at mga school heads. Sige po.
Yes, thank you, Sir Carlo. So ito yung kaninang binanggit ko na 3 possible situations. Ito ay base lamang doon sa habang ginagawa po yung polisiya na ito, ang mga guidance counselors ay tinanong din namin, nagkaroon ng informal na consultation. Ano-ano ba yung mga common na scenario sa ating mga DepEd schools? Maglilimit po muna tayo dito sa mga DepEd schools because we believe yung mga private schools naman ay may capacity, karamihan din sa kanila, may sari-sariling guidance counselor or guidance program din na sinusunod. So ito yung ating protocol. So yung scenario 1, for schools that do not have RGCs but have an RGC in the SDO level. Scenario 2 will be for schools and SDOs with no RGC. And scenario 3 for schools that do not have an RGC but with a nearby school with RGC. Next slide po. Sige po. So pag-usapan po natin yung 1 for schools that do not have RGC. So definitely, dito po sa tatlong scenario, lagi pong may designated guidance counselor or guidance advocate rather na magpa-facilitate ng referral ng cases. So kapag ang school ay walang RGC but merong RGC sa SDO level, ire-refer po ng guidance advocate. Ayan. Ang kaso o ang bata sa ating SDO guidance counselor. So the guidance advocate shall facilitate the intake interview and other necessary forms, and if deemed necessary, submits the referral letter to the SDO guidance counselor. Ito po, gawin na lang nating internal, no? Maganda siguro kung mapag-usapan ano yung ire-require. Halimbawa po, in one particular school, ano yung ire-require nung guidance counselor na nasa division office kapag magre-refer. Maaring magbigay sila ng referral letter or meron din form from the SDO guidance counselor. And then the SDO guidance counselor shall communicate with the referred learner. And then the SDO guidance counselor shall accomplish the counseling plan and schedule the counseling session. Okay? So yun po ang for schools who do not have RGCs, pero meron sa may RGC sa division. Para naman po sa mga schools, for schools and SDOs with no RGC, same process, meron po tayong guidance advocate, and then the guidance advocate shall facilitate the intake interview and other necessary forms, yung binanggit ko kanina. And then the guidance advocate prepares the documents necessary to refer the learners to other counselors in the nearest division or with a partner institution. Okay? So ano po yung key dito, no? Kailangan din po sa bawat region, to po, meron tayong naka-plot, naka-map po yan, saan yung ating mga RGC. Nasaan yung ating pinakamalapit na mga mental health institutions. Ano-ano yung mga possible partners. Kasi if ever na wala tayong ganong data, then we cannot do this. Lagi lang tayong matatapos dun sa limitation na walang RGC. So ito po, tatayin natin gumawa ng paraan through this memorandum at pwede po natin siyang gawing kumbaga legal basis in partnership or in creating or facilitating the partnership dito sa mga partner institution. So kagaya nga ng binanggit din ni Sir Carlo kanina, mapoproteksyonan tayo through a memorandum of understanding or memorandum of agreement in relation dito sa mga partner institutions na ito. Doon naman sa mga nearest division na may mga RGC, siguro tingnan din natin yung loading ng mga guidance counselors na nandoon. Kasi if we anticipate, say for example, sa isang division, kunwari lang po meron siya halimbawang 50,000 secondary learners at ang possibility na referral mataas. So we make sure na yung ibang guidance counselor din, wag naman na po nating asahan na makaperform pa sila ng mga add-on task because the referral alone, counseling alone, ay napakarami na. Okay? Kaya po maganda, mag-mapping din tayo. Nasaan ba strategically? Nasaan yung mga guidance counselors natin? Asan ba sila para makokontak din natin? We can have a directory or a regional or a division directory kung paano natin mare-refer or makokontak din itong ating mga guidance counselors. Okay? And then number 3, for schools that do not have an RGC but with a nearby school with RGC. So same, the guidance advocate facilitate the intake interview, and then they will prepare the documents necessary to refer the learners to the guidance counselor to the nearby or in the nearby school. So the guidance counselor from the nearby school, be it public or private, shall accomplish the counseling plan and schedule the counseling session. So ito po, depende din sa immediacy, no? Ito, ibabato ko din sa mga kasama ko dito. Sir Mark and Ma'am Tina or Sir Carlo, what if, meron tayong guidance counselors sa nearby schools, pero hindi yon ang kanilang current na position. Like in most cases kasi, our guidance counselors nagma-master teacher. Can they handle counseling? Or halimbawa, supervisor yung guidance counselor sa division, or head teacher yung guidance counselor. How do we deal with it?
Sir Mark?
Bahala ka dyan, Miss Jonah.
Medyo na-alarm nga ako dito kasi actually marami na yung nagme-message sa akin ng mga guidance counselors natin, ng mga writers natin yan sa homeroom guidance. Nung nabasa nila itong ating policy, kinakabahan daw sila kasi itong option na to, baka dadami daw ang kanilang trabaho kasi nga naman napaka-limited lang ng ating RGC. I think meron lang tayong 500 plus sa buong public school. Tapos sabi mo kanina, nasan ba ang RGC? Nasa DepEd Central Office. Tayong 4 tayo. So sa ibang bureau meron din. So hindi rin naman natin masisi kasi 'di ba marami ring master teacher na RGC kasi nga medyo yung sa salary grade, no? Isa yung sa mga reason. So siguro magiging magandang daan din to at makikita rin ng ating mga administrators na ganito pala karami ang responsibilidad ng mga guidance counselor and also the guidance advocates. Kasi ito rin yung mga kadalasan na nagiging issue nila sa mga school, ang dami nilang focal shift. So minsan focal na sila ng GAD, ng sexual, ng child protection pa, kung ano pang mga programa, minsan sa drug education din. So lahat na naibigay sa kanila. So dito sa pamamagitan ng ating orientation, maririnig ng ating mga kasamahan sa ibang schools na ganito pala karami ang ginagawa. So baka naman maaring mabawasan ng kanilang mga task para at least makapag-focus dito sa ating referral and counseling policy. Sir Mark, anong masasabi mo?
Yeah, ganito yan. Una, we need to be proactive in terms of the loading of our guidance counselors. At yung sasabi nating mga mga RGC na wala naman sa guidance kundi nasa teaching, no? Kaya natin sinama yung ating mga school heads and principals so they would know how to really utilize their RGC. Kasi yung iba, of course, it's a reality that they opted to be a master teacher dahil as of the moment, wala pa naman talagang concrete organizational growth, no, ang guidance counselor natin, no, ang ating mga RGC. But that should not prevent them from doing a strategy in such a way that they can still utilize our our RGC para sa ating mga counseling needs, no. Of course, we are guided by the ethical standards. Yung sasabi natin dual or multiple role, no, dapat walang ganon. Kaya ang ginagawa natin yung mga master teacher na post na RGC, if counseling could be part of their load, no? At syempre kapag nag-counseling ka, hindi naman pwede kung face-to-face yan, hindi naman pwede sa hallway o sa coffee shop, no? It has to be a well-secured and with confidentiality room, no, na sinasabi natin na suitable for any counseling session. So we can tap them in such a way that the loading could be given plus the counseling. At tama naman yung sinabi ni Ms. Tina na alam ko maraming mga assignments, no, at hindi lang naman curriculum and instruction strand ang nagbibigay ng mga memo, no, yung iba may ibang yung ibang strand, may ibang mga pinapagawa sa ating mga RGC. Before we know it, wala na silang time at energy to do counseling. At sa totoo lang, meron akong kilalang guidance RGC no na sabi niya sa akin, parang ayoko na maging guidance counselor kung ganyan din pati yung mga cases ng ibang school ako din nahawak. Parang ano mangyayari sa aking well-being, which is actually valid, no? Kaya sinasabi natin, they make it a strategy na kung saan i-develop natin yung ating mga guidance counselor ng mga bagay na pwede namang gawin ng ibang personnel. No? Kasi remember, napakalaking bagay ng mental health ng ating mga bata. At kung yung mga RGC natin ay nawawala ang sanity no dahil sa kanilang trabaho, at remember, ang sanity ang pinakakapital ng isang mental health professional. No, yan ang pinakapuhunan natin no kapag humahawak tayo ng kliyente o ng ating counseling. Mahalagang-mahalaga o na malusog ang ating kalusugang pagkaisipan. Kung kaya at the very beginning pa lang, no, we have to know no kung sino yung mga posibleng magbigay ng counseling sa school, sa malapit sa atin. At kagaya nga ni Sir Carlo, isa siyang social mobilization officer na kung saan siya ang in charge sa mga partnership. Yung mga nasa taga-ibang regions at divisions, you can ask your SOCMOB to really look for partners na mag-cater sa ating mental health services. I know that there might be some concerns na lalong-lalo na sa proximity o sa geographical location ng mga schools natin. But that should not be a factor to stop us from looking and searching for other way. Kasi nga, kagaya ng physical health, napakahalaga ng mental health. And of course, may mga pagkakataon na kakailanganin natin hanapin o mag-zoning tayo. No? Asan ba yung mga PGCE chapters dito? At paano tayo makikipag-tie up sa kanila? Ganon din naman yung mga hospitals with psychiatric services or even companies with psychological services. Pwede tayong kumatok sa kanila bilang corporate social responsibility nila. No? Alam ko may mga template po tayo ng MOA at MOU. May mga sample tayong nilabas. You just need to search for it. Alam ko sa work immersion may inattach tayo before na sample MOA. And kung kayo ay nasa school, you know that in the division level, you have your legal personnel where they can guide you on how to forge MOA or MOU with any institution or even company. So yung po yun na pwede nating magawa. Kaya alam ko mahirap, no? Hindi po namin sinasabing madali. Kasi hindi naman talaga ideal yung ating setup sa public school. Pero life must go on, no? We also need to cater sa ating mental health ng mga bata while we are also struggling but managing well our personal concerns.
Yes, sir. Actually, no, nafe-feel ko siya ngayon, sir. Dahil nasa division office ako, and I was assigned as the guidance focal person, no, and I'm trying to prepare myself dun sa kaliwat kanan na referral. Pero I still wish, no, sir, and dream that our division and even the region office, may ma-assign sana ng mga guidance counselors na full-time that can help our front line sa school level, no, sa ganitong klaseng problema. Sige po. Sir, can we show them the flow, no, para makita po nila ng maayos kung paano po ba ang isang guidance advocate, no, to facilitate, let's say, an intake interview papunta po dun sa mga referral.
Okay. Dito bilang advocate, actually, out of the 15,701 registered participants natin, almost 60% of them are guidance advocate. Okay? We do note that what they can do is actually to refer. Kaya po ito ay pinuntusan natin maigi para maging malinaw kung paano sila magre-refer, no? So they can refer to guidance counselor in the nearby school, provided i-formalize natin yung partnership natin with them. At kung DepEd school yan, dapat yung ating mga division supervisor magkaroon ng initiative to really meet the school heads and even the guidance counselors or kung may RGC dyan, para maging maayos yung ating setup. No? So sabi natin na kapag may counseling, dapat may counseling office. Hindi po pwedeng sa under the mango tree lang tayo magka-counseling or hindi kaya ay sa hallway na kung saan dinadaan-daanan ng mga faculty at estudyante. Siyempre, pag panahon ng pandemic, of course, it has to be a telecounseling and online counseling na later on mapag-uusapan natin. No? And bilang guidance advocate, you can also refer guidance counselor in the school's division office. So sinasabi natin na kapag may counseling at dapat may opisina na o may counseling room na gagamitin. Ganoon din po sa division office. At ganun din po, pwede po tayong mag-refer sa ating guidance counselor from a partner organization or institution. At kung may mga malapit-lapit po, like halimbawa, kailangan talaga natin ng psychiatric services, may mga, you have to check no, with DOH kung nasaan yung kanilang mga mental health facilities. No? Kasi tanggapin natin na kapag may mga pagkakataon na may mga clinical conditions sa mga bata, we need psychiatrists, no? We need psychologists. And mahirap, alam ko, at mahal ang singil no, ng psychiatrists at psychologists, lalong-lalo na kung ang mga kliyente ay manggagaling sa DepEd. Siyempre, alam naman natin ang economic status ng mostly ng mga estudyante natin. No? Kaya kung magkakaroon tayo ng partner with different institutions, pwede kayong magkaroon kasi ng clause doon na mas mababa o socialize, tama ba ang term? Socialize yung payment sa kanilang services. O di kaya, at least kahit paano may discount. No? We can do that provided it has to be legal and it underwent proper memorandum of understanding or agreement.
Sige po. Sir, pwede po ba tayong dumako dun sa guidelines no patungkol sa pag-conduct ng counseling ngayong new normal?
Ayan. So, based po dito sa ating department memorandum, meron lang po tayong dalawang modality for our counseling. Actually, ito medyo alam namin, napaka-limited niya talaga, no? Pero sa ngayon, we only have online counseling and telecounseling. So, this will be for 2020, 2021, habang ganito lang yung ating sitwasyon, no? Kumbaga, parang initial pa lang na kung ano yung meron tayo. Ito yung meron sa mga DepEd schools. So, yung online counseling and telecounseling, we don't know kung halimbawa yung mga, kung nirefer na natin sila, halimbawa, sa mga mental health officers or sa other institutions, kung ganito din yung magiging manner or yung modality na maaaring gamitin nila. So, para sa ating DepEd schools, we only have the online counseling. So, ang kailangan dyan, mag-identify tayo ng platform na safe for counseling and can ensure the confidentiality of the session. Or we can also have the use of telecounseling through telephone or mobile phone by both guidance counselor and learner. So depende po sa kung ano yung pinaka-available para sa ating counseling. Kasi di rin naman natin siya madidictate kung wala namang means yung mga bata, if in case na ang meron tayo ay online counseling, no? So, syempre, titingnan din natin ano ba yung kapasidad na meron yung ating learner. So, you can find this complete description ng ating online and telecounseling sa Annex H. So, yung procedures in handling an online or telecounseling. So, number 1, the guidance counselor will ask the counselee to accomplish the intake interview form, which shall be sent to the attending guidance counselor prior to the first session. It can be sent through email or physical submission. So sa physical submission, kailangan lang mag-comply tayo doon sa IATF na mga recommendations para sa health and safety standards. Kung makikita nyo dito, ang guidance counselor na agad yung first person. Kanina, doon sa mga previous discussion, ang first person who can do the task like the referral, nag-uumpisa siya sa advisor or sa ating mga guidance designate. So since this is counseling, dito nag-uumpisa yung ating mga guidance counselor, no? So for first-timers in counseling, the learner must accomplish the statement of confidentiality and the learner's data form, the Annex E. So sa practice natin sa Department of Education, alam namin yan, karamihan meron tayong learners data form. Yan ay nakalagay sa secondary, ang may hawak niyan yung ating mga registrar, no? So dito, there is a need na magkaroon ng updated learners data form for use sa counseling. Okay? Kasi maraming pagbabago, hindi natin pwedeng gamitin yung mga dating meron na tayo. Kaya nga annually, inaayos natin yan. Ano? And then, the statement of confidentiality, ito karamihan, ito kasi yung current and evidence-based practice na din ng counseling, no? At kailangan natin siyang i-adapt sa Department of Education. Kasi lagi lang nating sinasabi, in our session, ano, kasi ako ay nanggaling din po sa public school bago po ako nagpunta sa central office. Lagi lang nating sinasabi noon na yung magiging session ay confidential, ganyan-ganyan. Pero we don't really have the statement of confidentiality, no? So maganda na ma-introduce din natin ito para meron din tayong panghahawakan at gayon din yung ating mga counseling pagdating dito sa ating pagdating sa pag-o-observe ng confidentiality clause. Though pagdating naman sa guidance counselor, isa din yan sa mga sinumpaan natin na yung ating confidentiality sa ating mga hinahawakang cases or sa mga concerns na ito, talagang ino-observe natin, ano? And then in the event that a learner urgently needs a session with the guidance counselor, the parent or guardian should help the learner accomplish the forms, or if not possible, the guidance counselor shall fill out the forms through an interview with the learner. Okay? So mahalaga po ang ating forms. Mamaya babanggitin din natin bakit ba napakarami ng forms, no? Mamaya i-discuss din po namin yan ng mas malalim. Next slide, please. So this is Annex E, or the counseling data, the personal information. Ayan po. Next slide, please. That's page 2 of the counseling information form. So standard na po yan, hindi na po tayo mag-iiba-iba. Kasi yung iba, meron silang set of questions sa ibang school, ganun din, iba-iba tayo. So ngayon, meron na tayong standard. And then the guidance counselor will set the schedule of the first session based on their mutually agreed time and date, including the platform to be used. So the guidance counselor shall ensure the platform access of the counselee, including the confidentiality of the session. Both guidance counselor and counselee should be in a private space before and during the session. So sa ating mga guidance counselors, since most of us ay nasa work from home ngayon, we are working from home, kinakailangan po natin talagang magkaroon ng safe space din sa ating mga tahanan para tayo ay makaperform ng ating counseling, no? So siguro tatanungin, ilan po ba yung counseling session? Mamaya po pag-uusapan din natin, ano ba yung katanggap-tanggap na number of sessions in a day? At hanggang anong oras? Ito ba ay 8 to 5 lamang? Ito ba ay kahit beyond 5 p.m., no? Mamaya pag-usapan natin yan. So number 5, counseling should always observe confidentiality, which includes counselee seeing a counselor, all contact information, including his or her counseling schedules. Counseling information does not appear in the counselee's education file, and the counselor being the only person that can access the information discussed unless counselee gives written permission for a specific information to be shared. So, tatanggalin na po natin sa ating sistema na halimbawang nagpunta ng guidance office, from the guidance office papunta doon sa dulo ng corridor, magkakaroon ng idea yung ibang mga tao, no? Regarding doon sa case ng mga bata. Though, tatawanan lang natin, but this is happening, no? Nakakatakot lang kasi alam natin bilang mga guidance counselors kung ano yung value ng confidentiality na dapat mayroon ang lahat ng ating mga ginagawa, including yung mga cases o yung information about our clients, no? So, yun po. Mahalagang maintindihan din na yung pagbibigay ng permiso ng counselee tungkol doon sa mga information na i-share natin if there's a need, ano, ay makuha rin natin. Kahit yan ay bata, ayan. Siguro kasi baka sabihin, grade 5 pa lang yan, grade 4 pa lang, kailangan pang humingi ng written permission. Yes, ganun po talaga pagdating sa counseling. Ganun po siya kasagrado. Hindi po natin na tinitingnan na dahil bata siya at wala naman siyang muang, kaya nga siya nagkakaproblema, okay lang naman na pag-usapan natin yung mga case. Hindi po tayo ganun, bilang mga guidance counselors, and we would like to reiterate that. So hindi po sasama ang loob ng ibang mga school personnel kung halimbawang yung ating mga guidance counselors ay hindi magbibigay ng kumpletong detalye tungkol doon sa kung paano tumatakbo ang isang counseling session o yung buong session ng counseling sa isang bata, no? Kinakailangan pong aware tayo na yan po ang limitation o yan po yung hinihingi talaga sa lahat ng ating mga guidance counselors. Next po. So ano yung exemption to confidentiality? Okay? Meron naman tayong exemptions. Hindi naman siya masasabi na absolute, no? Ano yung exemption? Una, if the counselee is becoming an imminent danger to him or herself and or to others through thoughts of suicide or threats to harm other people, no? So kung doon sa session, marinigan natin o magkaroon sila ng parang mga statements na may mga ganito na silang plano. Therefore, kinakailangan po nating ipagbigay alam ito sa kanilang mga magulang if ever may thoughts of suicide or merong thoughts or plan minsan of harming other people, no? If there is a reasonable suspicion of emotional or physical neglect and or abuse, including sexual abuse of a minor, no? So dito, makikita natin paano ba o sino ba yung kailangan na makaalam nito, no? Siguro dito papasok yung iba pang partners natin, specifically kung kailangan natin siyang i-refer sa officer or for legal assistance o kung may kailangan bang kasuhan, yun, kailangan nating tingnan din yan, no? Mag-gauge natin na kailangan nating magsabi din or i-divulge yung mga information na kakailanganin. Okay? And then in rare cases, courts will be asking counselors to testify about them. Okay? So, dito, aware din ang ating mga guidance counselors na kapag may mga cases involving the learner or involving our clients, minsan kailangan din tayong magbigay ng ating statements in relation dito sa kung may kinalaman ito doon sa kaso, no? So dito makikita din natin kung gaano kahalaga na tayo ay may proper documentation sa simula pa lang hanggang sa dulo ng session or doon sa hanggang matapos yung session. If in case may mga ganitong pangyayari, tayo ay may this is actually our protection also as professionals na hindi tayo, kumbaga kung ano yung ginawa natin ay properly documented, no? Minsan kasi, nagkaroon na ng counseling, pero halimbawa nag-suicide pa rin yung bata. Parang halimbawa after magkaroon ng counseling, talagang nag-end tayo based on our professional judgment. Tapos na, yung na-reach na natin or na-accomplish natin yung counseling goals, nagkaroon ng pagbabago, naging maayos yung bata. However, after ilang months, nalaman natin nagpakamatay siya. Huwag naman sana, no? Pero tayo yung isa sa mga tatanungin din, what happened during the counseling session at bakit ganun pa rin yung nangyari dun sa bata. Those are just mga cases na may possibility na makita natin bakit ganun kahalaga yung ginagawa nating documentation and at the same time, yung confidentiality ng matters na hawak natin dahil ito ay napakasensitibo, no? So baka may maidagdag pa po yung ating mga kasama dito. Sir Mark, Ma'am Tina?
Yeah, sige, go ahead, Miss Tina, ikaw muna.
Okay. Base dito sa mga dami ng nabasa mo, John, talagang very in detail talaga yung mga process na gagawin sa baba. Kaya lang nga, isa rin to sa mga nagiging problema sa mga schools, no, yung mga confidentiality. Kasi minsan, nung nasa school pa ako, naalala ko na meron isang estudyante na before siya nagpunta sa school, parang nakapatay ata siya. So, hindi niya sinasabi yung kahit kanino. So, nakwento niya yon sa advisor. Tapos si advisor na ikwento sa ibang teachers. So, ang nangyari, si estudyante, parang kinakatakutan na siya sa school. So, kasi parang, ayun, na-judge na agad yung bata na meron siyang napatay. So, ang nangyari, itong batang to, nag-drop hanggang sa marami siyang mga kaklase na nabubuli, nabubugbog sa labas. So, kaya napaka-importante talaga ng confidentiality kasi kung hindi talaga siya sinabi sa ibang teachers, lalo na sensitive issue to, hindi mangyayari yun. So, napakalaking responsibilidad talaga natin bilang isang, hindi lang mga guidance advocates, so lahat din sa school, na dapat protektahan natin yung mga information na nanggagaling sa mga estudyante. Kasi kung hindi natin i-maintain ng confidentiality, hindi na pupunta ang mga bata or hindi na sila magsasabi sa mga teachers or sa mga guidance counselors.
Dagdag ko pa dyan, unang-una yung confidentiality, when I was still in the school level, ang ginagawa ko dyan ay in-inform ko na agad yung mga magulang to parents orientation that these are the guidance services that we offer to our learners, no? At syempre, bakit may statement of confidentiality? Dati wala naman. Kasi unang-una, dahil professionalized na ang guidance and counseling profession, we serve as mental health professionals sa school, no? It's in the assumption that parents are allowing us to cater to the mental health of their children. Kagaya ng physical health, di ba, kapag dinadala natin yung ating mga anak o ating mga minors sa mga doctor, they are also asking us permission kung may mga gagawing surgery o kung anumang interventions ang gagawin sa kanilang physical health. Just like in mental health, in school, it has to be properly documented that permissions were secured from the parents that they are allowing us to cater to the needs of their children. Now, in the event na, syempre sinasabi natin dito, alam naman natin kapag imminent danger na sa community yung isang client, no? At syempre, laging mas mahalaga ang common good at ang security, no, ng public as compared to the other, no? Kapag alam nating imminent danger yan, of course, we have to call the right authority. Hindi natin siya pagsasabi kung kani-kanino, basta-basta lang. No, we have to call the people who could stop or who could manage any danger, no, na pwedeng makomit ng tao. At kapag may mga court orders, sasabi lang natin lagi, sasabihin lang natin kung ano yung hinihingi, not the entire case notes or case documentation of the students, but what is just being asked by the court. Yun lang ang pwede natin sabihin. Other than that, wala na, no? At may nababasa akong tanong kanina, no? Siguro sagutin ko na din. Kapag may mga possible abuse, kasi I also experienced that when I was still in school, may client ako na victim of abuse. Siyempre, ang number one natin laging titingnan dyan ay tanggalin yung bata doon sa place of venue na kung saan inaabuso siya. That's a moral obligation natin mga guidance counselor once nag-confide yan. Ngayon, kung magulang ang nangaabuso sa kanya, halimbawa sexually, no, yan naman ay talagang nagaganap sa ating lipunan, definitely we have to ask, ang SOP dyan ay we have to inform our school head kung tayo ay guidance designate o tayo ay guidance counselor about the abuse that is taking place. And then we have to ask the help of DSWD sa women's desk. At alam ko din, covered yan ng child protection policy, but bilang guidance advocate at bilang guidance counselor, we need to ask the help of the DSWD, particularly yung women's desk, kasi sila ang bahalang mamahala doon sa pag-alis ng bata sa abusive environment. Kasi ako personally, hindi ako makatulog kung alam ko may estudyante akong inaabuso at that very moment. At alam ko sa utak ko na sinabi sa akin ng estudyante ko na inaabuso, hindi ako makakatulog at hindi talaga mapapalagay. Hence, it's our moral obligation to really see to it that the abuser ay mawala doon sa ating mga estudyante, no? Kaya kinakailangan natin tulong ng DSWD, lalo-lalo na ng Women's Desk. Sinasabi natin na hindi tayo pwede mag-counseling kapag ongoing ang abuse, no? Syempre, parang kang nagtatapal ng band-aid sa sugat na dumudugo at patuloy na dumudugo. So it won't work actually. So the first thing to do is to really ensure the safety of our learners and check the preparation, the readiness of our learners to really undergo counseling and other interventions. Another procedure, dugtungan ko na, no, yung counseling procedure, yung statement of confidentiality na pinag-usapan natin dito will be sent to the parents or legal guardians to get their permission for their child to undergo counseling. Sinasabi natin ng counseling is a mental health intervention, no, or service, no, kaya kailangan may permiso ng magulang. At ito po yung statement of confidentiality na ginawa po natin. Mahalaga na ipaliwanag natin bago po meron maangkulan tungkol dito. Ngayon, kung hindi kakayanin ng online, pwede naman pong isulat ng Tagalog o magkaroon ng pagpapaliwanag in Tagalog or even in mother tongue sa magulang para lang mas maunawaan nila ang nilalaman ng statement of confidentiality. Nakalagay dyan yung kung ano yung mga exemptions, nandiyan din yung guidelines, nandiyan din yung karapatan at responsibilidad ng ating client, ganun din naman yung kanilang responsibility. At dito po may magulang. Again, we are catering to minors, hence we really need to ask permission regarding sa mental guidance services na ibinibigay or mental health service na ibinibigay. Ms. Jonna, would you like to add some more? Baka nalaglag siya, no? So, tutuloy ko lang din, no? So, regarding sa conduct ng ating intake interview. So, sa intake interview, ito ay Annex B. Ito ay ginagamit natin upang makakuha ng necessary data essential for our understanding regarding sa concerns ng ating counseling. So, ito po yung intake interview, nakalagay po dyan yung mga tanong na mas magpapalinaw sa atin kung ano ba talaga ang problema ng ating client. Of course, as an RGC, we need to define really the presenting problem dahil chances are kapag bothered o anxious ang tao, ang dami niyang sinasabing concerns. No? But what is really the pressing need or what is really the priority that should be addressed in the counseling. So sa intake interview po, malalaman po natin doon kung ano po yung mga gumugulo at kung ano yung mga dapat i-prioritize sa session. So yan din po nakalagay kung gaano ka-serious hanggang sa ano yung mga bagay na sinubukan niya upang aksyonan ang kanyang concern. So ito po yun. So mahalaga po puntusan ko dito yung how hopeful are you about solving the problems because this question is actually could indicate any suicidal ideation, no, or suicidal thoughts. Kasi pag sabi niya, I am hopeless, ano ba yung mga taong wala ng pag-asa sa buhay? Ito yung mga talagang may tendency na mag-suicide. No? Kaya talagang kailangan natin itong maging malinaw upang mas matulungan natin ang ating mga client. So, andyan din po yung part na kung saan i-fill out ng guidance counselor. So, susunod dyan, yung counseling plan. Di ba sa definition pa lang kanina, ipinresent na natin na ang counseling ay isang well-planned, no, goal-oriented, and a short-term intervention. Kasi ang counseling, hindi po siya, unlike sa therapy, of course, it's just a short session, no? Hindi po yan yung pang sinasabi natin kagaya ng therapy na tumatagal ng ilang buwan, no? Ang ilang taon, no? Sinasabi natin it's a short-term intervention. So, pag nagka-counseling tayo, sinasabi natin na dapat malinaw kung ano ba ang goal ng ating counseling. Kasi the moment na pumasok yan sa ating opisina o nagkaroon tayo ng intake dyan, we need to, after the intake, you need to really have a clarity kung ano ba dito ang dapat i-priority. At from there, you would formulate an overall goal or yung overall goals na sabi natin. Kasi that would now be the intent of our intervention or our counseling. So yung overall goals have to be broken down into specific goals. Yung specific goal, ito po, yung enabling goals to really achieve the overall goal. So kung halimbawa, ang overall goal ng isang estudyante is to improve school academic performance, that's actually a broad goal, no? So how do you break it down? So sa session natin, halimbawa, titingnan mo yung halimbawa, kung may mga concerns dyan about sa time management, or was it about study habits that you have to look into, or maybe sa focus ng bata, etc., etc. So ilalagay natin yung specific goal. So lagi natin tatandaan na bago tayo mag-counseling, intake interview has to come first. Kasi dito nag-open ng window yung bata, no, sa mga possible areas for intervention. So after the intake interview, pag-aaralan mo maigi at you would formulate the specific goal, so as the overall goals, and then paplanuhin natin. Kapag sa bawat plano, no, sa bawat session, nakalagay dyan specific goal, tapos ano yung intervention na gagawin. Again, in terms of intervention, we are espousing evidence-based practice. So hindi na tayo gumagawa ng mga intervention na alam natin, sana familiar yung ating mga RGC, no, sa listahan ng World Health Organization o yung WHO sa mga potentially harmful therapies. No? Akala natin may mga therapy tayong ginagamit na akala natin nakabubuti. But when you check the World Health Organization sa potentially harmful therapies, nandoon yon. So kapag sinabi ng nandoon yon, huwag na natin gamitin. So what we would do is to actually have a research or really look for studies that would back us up in coming up with the intervention that we would place in the counseling plan. Kaya po sinasabi natin na ang counseling hindi po lang siya basta-basta binibigay. Before you face your client, it's not a scheme na kung saan nasabihin mo, it's showtime, sa mag-usap tayo. Hindi po ganun. Kasi pinaplano po maigi, lalong-lalo na yung focus ng counseling, at ano yung intervention na ibibigay mo on that particular session. At sabi natin, dapat alam mo yung ups and downs, no? Kung yan ay proven scientifically ng research at literature, no, na nakabubuti sa ating client, then you do it. Kapag alam mo na nasa listahan niya ng potentially harmful therapies ng WHO, might as well drop it, no, and look for other better interventions. At sinasabi natin na ang paggawa ng counseling plan ay talagang pinag-iisipan. At kung halimbawa may guidance director kayo or guidance coordinator, you have to check it, no? Yung counselor mo, check mo kung tama ba yung ginagawa nitong intervention. Sometimes we need to also look into how the session goes. But of course, you cannot just go there and march in, no, the session. So you have to look into the plan that the RGC is looking at. Bakit? Kasi iniiwasan po natin na makasama sa ating kliyente, no, sa ating mga counselors. Sabi lagi natin na we are a mental health professional sa mga schools. Therefore, lahat ng ibibigay natin at gagawin natin sa learner ay dapat makabubuti sa kanya, walang makasasama. Dahil ito po ay usapin ng accountability. What if, along the way, no, sa ginagawa mong counseling plan, counseling session, biglang nagkaroon ng masamang epekto yan sa learner. At halimbawa, yung magulang ay naghanap ng someone to blame, no? Sabihin niya, dahil sa ginawa mo, nawala yung anak ko. And then court or the parent might sue you, or legal battles would go along the way, no? At kapag sinilip yan na gumamit ka ng isang bagay na nakakasama sa client, then that is something that can be considered as a malpractice or even negligence of your duty as a guidance counselor. So sinasabi po natin na ang pagiging RGC, it's not only a matter of sinasabi nating professional development, or sinasabi natin it's not only a professional status. No? So it comes with accountability and responsibility, lalong-lalo na ngayon napaka hot item ng mental health, no? At really kapag nakagawa tayo ng mga bagay na nakakasama kaysa makabuti, it's a matter of accountability. Kaya po ini-espouse natin lagi yung usapin ng evidence-based practice, dahil may mga research na nagsasabi na may mga interventions tayong ginagawa na hindi evidence-based o nakakasama sa mga estudyante. Kaya might as well drop it and look for a better way of doing it. So actually sa ating memo, we also have case notes, no? Kaya lang itong paggawa ng counseling plan and case notes, actually it's a very technical training that would require, no, a different time to do, no? So kung sa mga school heads dito o sa mga regional supervisors or division supervisors, you can have a training workshop on counseling notes and counseling plan, kasi very specific po ito sa mga RGC natin, lalong-lalo na sa mga nag-cater sa mental health, no? Kasi it needs workshop actually, and our time here is not enough to do it. At hindi lang RGC ang nandito, of course we also need to account for our supervisors in the region and the division, of course the school heads and the guidance advocate. Okay, so the case must be terminated once the counseling goals have been attained. Sinasabi natin na huwag tayo matutuwa kapag balik sa atin ng balik ang ang ating client, lalo na kung wala kang schedule sa kanya. I mean, kung wala kang schedule sa kanya, nakaasa pa rin siya sa iyo, no? So, what does it mean? Nagiging dependent siya sa iyo. They are not getting the right skills to really overcome these challenges. Aminin natin na it's normal to really have life problems. Sino bang taong walang problema? Even counselors have, no? But pumapasok lang tayo sa picture bilang mental health professional kapag yung tao hindi na niya kaya i-manage yung kanyang mga concerns sa buhay at nagkakaroon ito ng mga sinasabi nating malfunction, no, sa kanyang behavior, sa kanyang self-care, at sa kanyang occupation or even social relationship. So tinitingnan natin na dapat malinaw, no, yung pagkaka-terminate ay dapat naabot ng counseling goals. Of course, we do recognize that there might be some milestones, no, that are quite life-changing that have to be accounted for para ma-extend, no. Of course, very flexible naman tayo in terms of counseling sessions. Pero sinasabi lang natin, the goals have to be clear and clarified. Of course, attainable dapat sa short term na sinasabi natin, kasi hindi tayo maglalagay ng goal na hindi naman attainable, no? And guidance counselor shall refer the counselee to an outside specialist if the case requires clinical intervention or diagnosis. So, sinasabi natin dito na being an RGC in a school, you cannot really perform psychotherapy. Why? Of course, we are not in an ideal ratio. We also need to look into the well-being and mental health needs of other learners. So could you imagine if you will just allot your time and energy to a singular student because you are conducting therapy in a school? So definitely, ang bottom line lang dito ay alam dapat natin yung ating limitations. Okay? If you are not trained to handle, halimbawa, abused children, because it's not really your academic preparation, though you are an RGC, then you have to refer it. Kasi kapag ginawa mo siyang guinea pig, no, or experiment, chances are nagiging double whammy. hindi mo alam kung tama ba ginagawa mo. So it's either makasama sa bata at makasama sa iyo, at kung saan ang pinakanakakatakot ay magkaroon ng malpractice at negligence. Okay, so talagang dapat very particular tayo sa ating specialization at sa ating exposure at training. Okay, if you came from the organizational or sasabing industrial side, definitely less ang case doon ng mga bata, no? Halos wala nga kasi bakit ka sa workplace na, and you are just coming as a new RGC in a school where you would just handle students. So definitely you need to empower yourself, you need to train yourself, no? Kasi kapag nag-handle ka ng mga bagay na hindi mo dapat ginagawa, how would that make you as a professional? Okay? So all sessions must be documented through case notes. So sabi ko nga, again, case notes is a big topic that cannot be covered in this exercise. We are actually thinking of another capacity building for our RGC solely for case notes and case documentations kasi talaga malaking trabaho siya. Again, kailan tayo gagawa ng case notes? Hindi yan ginagawa kapag hinihinga na tayo ng court order o kapag may court order na to testify about our learners. Ginagawa yan as part of our accountability sa ating counseling. Okay? So kapag nag-case notes ka, hindi yan sa pen na nagsulat ka sa notebook o sa iyong sticky notes. No? I know that. No? yung NEU 5 counselor pa lang ako, I used to do that. But of course, may mga pinag-usapan tayong legally defensible documents na kapag hinahanap sa iyo, dapat ready. And that is in a form of case notes. Kaya maganda siyang training sa actually na gawin.
Sir. Actually, sir, no, na-realize ko ngayon na napaka-importante talaga na tignan din ng school, let's say, yung school head, kung kinakailangan talagang i-deload ang ating mga guidance counselors, no, pagdating sa kanilang trabaho, lalong-lalo na ngayon dumating itong ganitong mandate, no, hindi maiwasan na mag-entertain ng ibang mga cases, no, outside sa kanilang eskwelahan that could pile up dun sa kanyang mga trabaho pa, no. So it's a good parang realization din sa ating mga school heads na tignan din po ang ating mga guidance counselors in relation to their job, no, din sa trabaho nilang hinahandle ngayon. Sige, sir. Sir, since na nabanggit nyo kanina na timely ito, actually kanina rin nabasa ko rin po yung isang nasa social media na meron mga estudyante, no, na nag-commit ng suicide. Okay? And I think it's very imperative and very important to discuss, sir, kung papaano po ba pinamamahalaan, no, ang suicidal situation sa DepEd or sa public school.
Okay, I hope my other panel members would also help me with this, but this is the SOP, no, that we are setting in terms of managing suicidal situation with our learners. Of course, sabi natin lagi na if you're not trained to handle students, you have to listen and to refer to the right authority, no, yung ating mga estudyante. So paano ba yung gagawin natin kapag may mga suicidal situation? Nabanggit ko kanina yung sa Region 8, no, nakakalungkot na 3 learners natin ang nawala ng buhay, no, dahil they committed suicide. And it is a reality, of course, that things are happening that way. But that should not stop us, no? That should not discourage us from pursuing other ways of giving mental health services. Mahalaga yung positive disposition bilang mental health professional. Yan ay puhunan din natin, ano? Kasi kung napaka-pessimistic natin sa mundo, sa profession natin, how would that translate into our practice? Paulit-ulit namin sinasabi, we are not in the ideal setting, we are not in a sabi natin enabling environment for mental health, no. Pero we are getting there slowly, baby steps, pero sinasabi natin na unti-unti makaka-overcome din tayo ng ganitong sitwasyon. Pero for the meantime, we have to do something. Hindi naman pwede tayo maging stagnant sa ganyang negative situation, ano. So we have to consider and assess for risk factors for suicide. So sabi nga natin, any posting, any declaration, any statement about suicide have to be taken seriously by the school. Okay? So provide the learner with the details of mental health professionals if possible and maintain regular contact initially by making another appointment. So sinasabi lang natin na kapag may mga suicidal clients tayo o client o counselings, no? We need to provide them mental health professionals contact details. Okay? So syempre kung RGC ka, yung number mo has to be given doon sa pamilya o sa bata mismo. Ganon din yung mga posibleng tawagan niya kasi syempre hindi naman 24/7 gising tayo, no? May mga hotline tayong pwedeng ibigay. Mamaya sasabihin namin, no, yung kung ano yung hotline ng National Center for Mental Health, POH. And then activate psychosocial support by reaching out to family or friends and community resources and provide details of community services during crisis lines. So, mahalaga po yung gampanin ng pamilya o yung pinaka-support system ng bata. No? Kasi kapag may mga suicidal thoughts or ideation niya, nandiyan yung pamilya upang gumabay. Okay? At nandiyan yung mga kaibigan upang gumabay. Hindi upang lunasan, but supportahan at of course, protektahan siya sa possible na self-harming, no? Or worst is committing suicide. So if the learner has a concrete plan, including the means and the intention to die, stay with the person. Remove the means of suicide, consult other mental health specialists, and assign a family or staff member to stay with the person so that they are not left alone until further special support is in place. I-break ko lang to into a chewable idea, no? Kapag may concrete plan, paano mo lalaman kapag may concrete plan siyang magpakamatay o mag-suicide? Una, kapag may mga ganun na, no, dapat you have to stay with the person. Siyempre, tayo ay nasa pandemic. So, ang mag-stay doon sa client ay siyempre yung immediate family o yung attending adults, no, o yung nearest adults. Dapat tanggalin lahat ng means ng suicide, blade, bleach, lahat ng pwede niyang gamitin, knife, any sharp objects, no, tanggalin lahat yun. I had instances before where in collaboration with the psychiatrist of my students, in order niya na tanggalin yung doorknob o yung door lock ng client just to ensure that we can access the client sa bahay. Okay, kasi may mga tendency yung mag-lock, no? So tatanggalin natin lahat ng means and avenues, no, that could be used for suicide. And of course, a guidance advocate or even guidance counselor, you have to consult other mental health professionals. Ano bang pwedeng gawin? Saan ba pwedeng dalhin tong bata? Hindi naman pwedeng 24/7 nakabantay yung magulang sa possible na magpapakamatay. No, they can do that maybe a week or two, pero syempre kailangan din nilang magtrabaho, kailangan din nilang mag-attend sa ibang members ng family, ano? Kaya nga may mga pagkakataon na yung mga ganong hindi na makontrol has to be confined sa isang mental health facility. Hindi upang ilayo lang sa magulang, kung hindi upang i-stabilize yung behavior, yung pag-inom ng gamot, yung self-care, yung pagtulog, yung hygiene, ganun din yung routines niya. Okay? Unang-una hindi dapat sila iniwanan mag-isa. Okay? Until further specialist support is in place. Lagi natin tatandaan na ang suicidal client ay hindi pwedeng pauwiin. Kung nasa school yan, hindi nyo pwedeng pauwiin. Kung RGC ka o itong guidance desk, hindi mo siya pwedeng pauwiin ng walang magulang. Okay? Always endorse it. Kung pauwiin nyo kung nasa school, kasi I understand hindi naman 24/7 open ang school, no? Lalo kung sa panahon ng face-to-face. So, ang sinasabi natin dyan ay i-endorse mo sa family member with a plan kung paano tutugunan yung kanyang sitwasyon. Kasi why do you have to endorse it to the family members? Kasi you are endorsing the accountability and responsibility to the family members. Kasi hindi po pwede na pauwiin mo yan, tapos pag namatayan sa daan, sagutin mo yon. Lalo kung lisensyado ka, it's a negligence on your part. Okay? Kaya kung napapansin po natin, yung pagiging professionalized ng profession, it comes with really responsibility. Lalo't lalo na kapag sisimilin tayo legally. No? So, ano yung mga pwedeng gawin ng school? Procedures in handling suicide situation. Schools shall always take seriously all suicidal behavior and comments of learners, lalong-lalo na kapag may mga estudyante tayo nagpo-post ng mga suicidal comments or expression. They have to be interviewed immediately after once reported. No, kung may mga teacher or school person na nakakaalam indirectly or indirectly na may suicidal thoughts or warning signs, dapat tinataas ang suicide rate sa isang estudyante. No? Then it is critical that any school personnel who have knowledge of someone with suicidal thoughts or behaviors communicate this information immediately and directly to a registered guidance counselor to assess and refer the learner. So sabi natin, yung pag-clinical conditions na yan, hindi yan pwedeng hawakan, no, ng pangmatagalan ng RDC. It has to be referred to psychologists or psychiatrists for further intervention. Okay, so in case of critical or emergency situation, eto na, no? Paano kapag nakita mo na yung estudyante mismo nagpapakamatay o may suicide na nangyayari sa harapan mo? Anong gagawin mo? Siyempre, hindi ka tatakbo. Ang gagawin natin ay to call the law enforcement or security personnel. If a learner possesses the means, may gun, may razor, may rope, may pills, etc. to commit suicide, or if the learner is not at school or has left the school, and a plan to kill oneself is discovered, or if the person is unwilling or unable to make a plan to keep themselves safe. Ibig sabihin, wala naman, kapag magpapakamatay ang isang tao, wala naman siya sa tamang function ng mind. No? So, it's imperative that you call the security personnel or law enforcement upang pigilan ang untoward incident. Okay? In my experiences before, I had to call for an ambulance emergency. Nasa private sector ako, so may ambulance. So really, and I asked the parents if we can bring the student to a certain, to other specialists. No? I'm referring to a psychiatrist kasi nakikita ko na talagang nag-mutilate yung bata at talagang desidido siyang magpakamatay. No? So we have to really, and that is an emergency in terms of mental health. No? Kagaya ng physical health, may mga emergencies din tayong pinag-usapan dito. So attending school personnel should stay with the learner. Pero kung ang bata ay nasa bahay, syempre ang mga magulang ang dapat mag-stick with the learner. So no learner expressing suicidal thoughts should be sent home. Nabanggit ko na ito kanina. So, dapat lang ini-endorse natin yan sa magulang kung pauuwiin natin. At dapat may malinaw na plano ang magulang kung paano tutulungan ang kanyang anak upang mapigilan itong mag-commit ng suicide. Again, dapat malinaw. May malinaw munang usapan bago umuwi ang magulang kasama ang anak kung paano i-address ito. Or, kung papayag naman ng magulang at sa tingin nyo ay kinakailangan, idalhin na iyan sa pinakamalapit na mental health facility or mental health professional like psychologists or psychiatrists. So, though I think DepEd has an initiative to really come up with a tool, no? But we also specified these as you said screening questions ESQ of the National Institute of Mental Health USA, and they in their website they actually have provisions there that this can be used, no, at sa guidelines natin. May mga Tagalog version ito. But this is just a guide on how to really determine that really the learner is after or is really certain about committing suicide. So keep the learner inside. The room should be clear of any dangerous things. When there appears to be any threat of self-harm, contact the parents or guardian immediately. Again, kung nasa school ito. Ngayon, kung nag-online class ka naman, o online class ng mga bata, you have to talk immediately to the parent kapag may mga ganitong sitwasyon. Again, this is breaking the confidentiality kasi mas mahalaga po ang buhay kaysa confidentiality. So if the learner identifies safety risks associated with notifying a parent, may mga pagkakataon, I think it happened sometime in 2019 or 2018, no? Hindi ko alam kung sa Cebu yun. Whereas tumalon yung bata from a school building dahil tinawagan ng guidance counselor yung magulang nito para pumunta sa school kasi may mental health issue yung bata. So na-trigger palalo yung pagpapatiwakal ng bata dahil kinontak ng guidance counselor yung mga magulang niya. So tumakbo siya, tumalon sa building, namatay. So kung sa tingin natin nagte-trigger ang pag-notify sa magulang, no? Contact another trusted adult or adult family member identified by the learner. Okay? Para lang kasi hindi natin alam, halimbawa may mga estudyante kasi na nape-pressure sa magulang dahil sa academic expectations or even sa role expectation nila sa pamilya. So if that's the case, then we have to look for other adult family member, no? Para lang hindi mag-alleviate o mag-increase, no, yung stimulation sa mga bata o sa client natin na magpakamatay. So if a parent is unavailable, call the National Center for Mental Health. Ito po sabi natin, mahalagang tandaan po natin ito, no? Lalong-lalo na sa mga guidance advocate, school principal, even sa mga supervisors at RGC. Ito po yung numbers na pwedeng tawagan. Call the National Center for Mental Health. This is from DOH. For health and mental health concerns to its new crisis hotline, so 917-899-USAP or 8727 or 989-USAP. At mahalagang po yung binabanggit natin kanina na kung may mga existing partners kayo, halimbawa yung mga sa Mandaluyong, may mental health facility doon, if you can partner also with that, yung mga nearby, yung Mandaluyong division, it's already an advantage sa inyo, no? Na makipag-partner sa kanila para may psychiatric services naman sa mga bata kung kinakailangan. Ganon din po sa mga schools na may mga hospitals, may mga psychological or psychiatric services. You can partner with them. You have to forge it formally para lang maging malinaw kung paano yung dalo o yung flow ng ating pagbibigay servisyo. Ayan, I may be talking a lot now. Maybe my colleagues here, my other panel members could also give other inputs regarding this one. Ms. Tina, Ms. Jonah.
Ma'am Jonah.
Andiyan pa siya?
Yes.
Andiyan po.
Yeah. Actually, nag-uumpisa na rin kaming sumagot doon sa ibang mga questions kasi sir in relation dito sa ating discussion. Napaka-rich nung discussion natin in relation dito sa referral pa din in case of tawag dito may mga risk for suicide, no? Lilinawin lang din po namin na ang intention po of counseling and referral memorandum is to standardize our practice. So if there's an existing practice sa inyong respective division or sa inyong respective schools, maaaring i-align na po natin dito. Like kasi merong nabanggit kanina na may mga specific divisions na may teen centers at doon nagre-refer yung ating mga guidance advocate then yung mga nasa teen centers. So if that's the case, no, let's try to reevaluate paano ma-harmonize itong ating DepEd memorandum doon sa existing. We don't say kasi na hindi valid yun. Definitely valid yun, ano? Meron tayong mga mechanism na existing. So ito ay tulong na din para magkaroon tayo ng standard procedure on counseling and referral. On second point naman po, another important information siguro kasi merong bukod dun sa existing policy, meron din silang question about the pre-referral. So what's happening bago yung referral? Ito yung sinasabi natin na possible interventions or the preventive preventive measures, no? Kasi baka na-overwhelm tayo na bakit ang naging focus lang this time yung referral and counseling. Ulitin lang po namin kasi ito po yung kinakailangan talaga na magkaroon tayo ng sort of standard. Though hindi siya perfect, we know, hindi din siya absolute, no? For a certain time lang natin siya magagamit, ngayong pandemic lang. Pero tinitingnan natin yung possible na magagawa within this time period. So if ever, okay, if ever dito sa ano natin, sa dinidiscuss natin, masabi natin na ano pa ba yung pwedeng gawin? You can actually initiate those preventive mechanisms, okay? Sa inyong specific school, sa inyong specific division or region, pwede pong mag-initiate. Pwede kayong mag-contact din ng other professionals na maaring magbigay ng mga ganitong suggestions or may mga clarificatory pa po ba tayo in relation sa suicide? Baka mas kailangan po natin ng mas malalim na pag-discuss tungkol dito. So ito po ay maaari nating ilapit doon sa ating ibang mga partners. Of course, hindi naman po kami experts on everything, ano po. Kailangan lang po na magkaroon tayo, kumbaga may mag-umpisa o merong, kumbaga may seed tayo ng kung ano yung dapat na mayroon. So kung may beyond doon sa kayang ibigay, beyond this DepEd memorandum, kung kaya nating kumpletuhin yung buong guidance program in your specific division, since you have RGC or baka may mga makakatulong tayo na partners, you are free to do so, no? So basta yung standards natin, kabit-kabit po yan. We have our standards for counseling and referral. We also have our standards for our career guidance program, for the information dissemination. Kung madadagdagan po yun, wala naman pong problem, no? So yun lang po. Sir Mark, Ma'am Tina?
Yeah. Sir Tina ba?
Okay, sir. Nagsumasagot kasi ako doon sa mga questions nila. So nakita ko lang din na may nagtanong doon about sa budget for psychiatrists and psychologists if ever na kinakailangan nilang mag-refer. So parang isa rin daw to sa mga nire-raise nila na sana mabudgetan. So ang nasagot ko lang dito, sir, so since wala pa naman tayong provision for budget for that, yung sa psychological test nga, sir, di ba, wala pa rin, ano? So siguro, magiging daan din tong nagkakaroon tayo ng mga ganitong policy and at the same time, yung ating educational policy for comprehensive guidance and counseling program and services na ongoing pa rin na sana mailabas natin ngayong year na to. So pag nakita naman yan, napakita naman natin na meron tayong mga ginagawa at meron tayong mga na-release na policy, siguro during the correct me if I'm wrong, Sir Mark, so during the Senate hearing, siguro pwedeng i-justify ng DepEd na ito talaga ay kailangan mabudgetan. And at the same time, magkaroon din siya ng, syempre, kailangan din natin ng mga support, no, mga evidence-based na mga researches or mga datos na kinakailangan natin ipakita na talagang there is a need talaga na mabudgetan din siya. So yun,
Okay,
sir. So, paki-enlighten ako, sir. Baka naman meron ka rin ibang...
dagdag ko lang dyan. Una, tayo ay DepEd, hindi tayo DOH. So, yung funding for psychiatrists, I don't think i-cover natin yun. What we can do, however, syempre ang cover natin ay nasa school, yung learners, no? Pero sinasabi natin na hindi naman natin sila pababayaan pagdating sa labas. But we can only do so much. Kaya ang ginagawa natin ay we can partner with any institution, psychological institution, or even psychiatric association na pwedeng magbigay ng services. No? We can have that as, yung nabanggit ko kanina ay corporate social responsibility. And ang pinakamaganda doon ay you have to coordinate with DOH kasi sila talaga ang agency na nangangasiwa sa kalusugang pangkaisipan ng mga tao o ng mamamayan. No? At partly dahil tayo ay nakikater sa ating learners, we also need to look into this. Pero sabi lang natin that we are doing this as our share sa pangangalaga, no, ng mental health ng ating mga estudyante. Pero of course, yung social mobilization natin sa division ay pwedeng maghanap ng mga partners para makapag-avail din naman ng ating mga learners just in case may refer tayo. But again, the key there is to coordinate with your DOH regional offices or I do not know kung may mga division office din ng DOH, no, but try to check, no, kung saan at paano makakapag-avail ng mental health services ang ating mga learners, no. Hindi lang mga learners, sometimes pati family nila kailangan din, no, doon sa ating locality. So malaking bagay po 'yon. Kaya yung psychiatric services na popondohan ng DepEd, I'm not quite sure kung magiging feasible yan kasi ang ating mandate ay education. At ang mental health ay nasa mandate talaga na DOH. We are just doing this as our part in the education sector. Ayun, so dagdag ko lang din, no, na kanina nabanggit ko na kapag ipapauwi sa magulang ang estudyante, dapat may malinaw na plano na kung paano tutugunan ang pangangailangan nito sa kalusugang pangkaisipan. Dapat malinaw muna yan bago umuwi ng magulang. Okay, Sir Carlo?
Okay, sir, grabe. Sobrang dami nating na-cover again, and I observe also dun sa ating mga questions na sobrang dami din, no? Na I think kahit gusto man din natin itong ma-address lahat, baka hindi kayanin because of time, no? Sir, let's focus our attention po ngayon dun sa gagampanin ng DepEd personnel, no, sa iba't ibang governance level sa ating department. Kasi makikita natin dito, sir, kung paano ba ang magiging communication or ano ba ang responsibility ng bawat governance.
Okay, Sir Carlo. Thank you. For the responsibilities in different governance levels, so from schools to division, region, and central, meron tayong mga ka-actibat na responsibility dito sa ating policy na ito. So, dapat maging part din ng program sa guidance, ang orientations, kasi since part ito ng guidance services, ang information service kasi, para mabigyan din ng information ng mga parents or mga learners natin about this policy, at least pag nangailangan sila ng assistance, ang mga parent aware sila na meron pala. So, meron pala siya sa mga schools. So, isa sa mga possible din na step din na nakita ko rin sa mga questions kanina, sana kung mga guidance advocate ang gagawa ng mga ibang isa sila sa mga partner natin dito, sana daw paano raw yung mga loading nila. So dapat daw sana mabawasan naman ang kanilang load, and then yung mga iba nilang hawak na program para naman daw matutukan nila ang policy na ito. So Sir Mark, next slide. Next slide na po. Okay, so sa school level po, the school head shall designate a guidance advocate in the absence of guidance counselor for school year 2020-2021. So number 2, secure the implementation of counseling and referral services for learners, and then ensure the conduct of orientation for teachers, learners, and parents on counseling and referral. So ito po yung nasabi ko kanina, sa school level pa lang dapat ang mga guidance advocate ay mabigyan ng kaukulang anong tawag nito? Mabigyan ng sila ng responsibility ng guidance ng school head kung ano yung mga role nila dito sa ating policy. And next slide na po. Okay, the school head shall allocate budget for the materials and other related expenses for the conduct of the services. So Sir Mark, dito kasi may nagtanong din kung yun, saan ano ba yung mga budget na ano lang yung mga expenses na babudgetan daw dito sa ating policy na ito or sa pag-implement ng ating policy. And then, ayun, so parang na-discuss naman din ata, sir, na sa ngayon, parang internet allowance lang ba, sir, ang ibibigay na budget? Parang I think it's 300 per month.
Yeah, Ms. Tina, I think ang tanong na ito kasi napaka relevant niya ngayon dahil yung mga guidance counselor hindi naman nagka-counsel sa physical office, no? So what they can do is online counseling or telecounseling. May nagtanong sa akin before, sir, saan kami kukuha ng load na pang-counseling? Hindi naman kami covered ng allowance. So sabi ko, maganda may mga school heads dito, no, na ang ating mga guidance counselor, kakailanganin po niya ng mga load para makatawag. At yung bata rin, syempre, magkaroon ng communication, no? At sa part ng school, I think it's part of the school operation, no, na halimbawa yung counseling, since it's a service being rendered by the guidance counselor, you can use this memorandum, no, para i-justify yung paggastos na gano'n. Kasi unang-una, paano naman magka-counseling ang counselor kung mamumblema pa sila sa load o sa internet connectivity? So malaking bagay po yun as part of our MOE. Pangalawa, kung yung bata ay kailangan talagang kausapin through telephone at wala siyang, halimbawa wala siyang telepono, may mga pagkakataong talagang ganun, we can coordinate with any barangay na kung pwede makagamit ang bata. Of course, we are still following the IATF protocol, no? Kung pwedeng magkaroon ng space ang bata na safe at confidential ang kanyang place. At the same time, makakapag-avail siya ng counsel.
Okay, so thank you, Sir Mark. Joanna, meron ka bang idadagdag?
Wala naman, Ma'am Tina. Actually, covered naman lahat siya, no, dun sa in-explain.
Okay. Okay, so next, the guidance counselor shall conduct counseling to learners. Ito ay sa school level Document each counseling case being handled, provide referral services to outside mental health professionals when necessary, conduct a case consultation as deemed necessary, conduct a conference with learners, parents, guardians, and make an annual report on the number of cases handled in their nature. So, napaka-importante na talagang nakadocument lahat ng mga cases na pumapasok sa guidance office. So, I remember na noon, kailangan talaga, nung wala pa tayong ganitong policy, may mga initiative naman ng mga guidance counselor sa mga iba't ibang schools na nag-create sila ng, nagme-maintain sila ng logbook. So, every day, lahat ng mga cases na pumapasok sa kanila, naka-logbook yun kasi para at the end of the year, meron silang data kung gaano karami mga cases na hawakan nila. Ilan ba yung nabully, ilan ba yung involved sa cutting of classes, or may mga involved ba sa mga fraternity. So yun po yung importance ng data. And then for the school level, the school head shall designate a guidance. Eto, natapos na ata siya. Sir, okay na. Next na. Submit ang ano. Okay na rin po ito. Okay. So dito po sa secured implement. Okay. So the school head shall designate a guidance advocate. Okay, tapos na rin to. Secured implementation of counseling and referral services for learners. Na-discuss na rin kanina. Ensure the conduct of orientation for teachers, learners, and parents on counseling and referral. So, nabanggit ko rin kanina, as part of the services ng guidance, yung orientation. So, napaka-importante na during orientation, ma-discuss din na meron tayong mga ganitong services para if ever na magkaroon sila ng need na mai-refer ang kanilang mga anak, so aware sila kung ano yung mga proseso. Okay, so na-discuss na rin po itong budget. Next slide. Okay na rin po ito, na-discuss na rin. Parang na-doble na. Guidance okay, parang na-discuss na rin ito na, sir. Facilitate learners to avail counseling and referral services from a registered guidance counselor designated in the division office. So, na-discuss na rin po ito kanina. Okay, disseminate information about mental health issues. Okay, so part din yan ng kanilang magiging responsibilidad na merong pong mga ganitong ino-offer na services sa guidance. And then for the schools division office, the schools division superintendent shall ensure that all school heads have a guidance counselor or at least have an assigned guidance advocate. So, napaka-importante din talaga na magkaroon ng mapping ang division office kung ilan ba ang mga registered guidance counselor sa kanyang school. Para at least in case na nangailangan ng ibang school na sakop sa kanyang division, alam natin or ma-identify ng division kung sino-sino yung mga registered guidance counselor. And designate a guidance counselor to cater to the mental health concerns of learners from schools depending on the availability of RGCs and the number of schools in the division level. So isa rin din to sa mga dilemma ng ibang mga nakikita ko nagko-questions. Paano raw kung ayun, so sa isang division, 2 or 3 lang ang RGC. So ano na lang daw ang gagawin nilang work So nakafocus na lang sila dun sa mga i-refer sa kanila. So paano naman daw yung kanilang ibang trabaho. And then ensure partnership with institutions and hospitals that provide psychiatric or mental health services for learners. So meron naman tayo na I think nakalagay din to sa ating sa mga policy kung sino-sino yung mga internal at external partnerships natin in case na magkaroon tayo ng referral sa mga na involve ang psychiatric or mental health services for learners. Next na Nika. Siguro since marami naman tayo ngayong participants coming from yung mga heads or may mga guidance may mga principal tayo dito at saka mga supervisors, siguro isa na ring avenue to para ma-check ma-check din natin na kinakailangan din na baka dapat madagdagan ang plantilla ng guidance counselor para at least ma-serve yung ating policy. Of course, marami rin tayong kinakailangan i-consider kasi nga kailangan RGC. So, isa pa rin sa mga possible na masolusyonan yung mga guidance advocates na mabawasan ang kanilang load. So, yun din ang kanilang iniisip. Baka sa sobrang dami ng kanilang gagawin, hindi sila makatutok dito sa ating referral and counseling policy. Kasi yung iba, may mga load din sila sa ESP, or yung iba, meron din sila mga focal ship na iba't ibang programang hawak. And at the same time, minsan na sila rin yung nagiging secretary ng mga principals, etc. So marami silang mga tasks talaga. Okay, so yung isa pa, designate a guidance counselor supervisor. Sir Mark, mayroon palang nag-question, parang related din naman dito sa topic. May mga, parang, saan daw ba talaga dapat? Kasi di ba ang guidance activities nasa SGOD. So, paano ba itong atin? Sa atin is from Bureau of Curriculum Development. So, sa CID po ba or sa SGOD talaga dapat?
Sige. I think it's good to clarify that one, So, as of the moment, in terms of organization, guidance counselor is part of the SGOD. However, since the mandate for guidance and counseling has been transferred to BCD, hence we are releasing this one. And since this is part of their work, then they have to comply and follow whatever guidelines relevant to their work. Kasi since ito ay napunta sa BCD, we are doing our task to really release whatever we can within the expertise that we have, but in terms of the organizational part, it's under SGOT. Now, paano ba natin dapat i-appreciate ito? We are trying to look into this one as part of our mental health services, in the DepEd Central Office. We release guidelines not to get somebody else's mandate, but it was given to us. Now, whatever guidelines we do, it's always for the benefit of our learners. Though we are not ignoring the struggles along the way. We are not ignoring the conflict of functions along the way. Pero ang sinasabi lang natin, in terms of work, these are the things that we are setting as a system. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng kanya-kanyang practice na lang, kanya-kanyang gawin. Okay, so it's still a work in progress in terms of clarity doon sa organizational movement. Pero sinasabi lang natin, at least we are starting. Dahil hindi naman pwede na habang may mga mental health issues sa mga bata ay wala tayong ginagawa.
Okay, so thank you very much, Sir Mark. Ma'am Jonna, may idadagdag ka ba?
Yes, actually I'm reading some of the questions at isa din sa striking na maganda naman na puntosan about the KRA of the guidance counselors kasi currently ang KRA nila ay nakapaloob lang yung mga clients or counselees na manggagaling sa schools nila. So isa to sa concern na what will happen to their KRA? Is there a need na magkaroon din ng adjustment doon sa kanilang KRA because of this memorandum? Yun po yung isa sa mga questions. And also dito sa ating movement in relation din sa organization. So we understand na isa yan dun sa mga maaring hindi nabanggit no dito sa DepEd memorandum na ito, much as we want to cover everything. However, nakalimit lang din kasi kami sa kung ano yung talagang kinakailangan as of the moment. Actually, ang trigger po ng DM na ito ay yung dami ng suicide cases na walang referral at counseling na natatanggap galing sa school or galing sa ating organization. So in relation to that, kahit ilang beses po naming sabihin na kulang po tayo, alam naman po natin yung reality at nabanggit din kanina ito ni Director Joyce na we know the reality na may mga talagang pagkukulang. However, ang limitation na ito ay hindi din dapat mag-limit sa kung ano yung pwede nating magawa. Okay? I'm very sure most of you have nakapanood or nakiisa kayo dito sa mga pagdinig tungkol sa mental health na mga pag-uusap. Sir Mark, maari bang magbigay din tayo ng idea sa kanila kung ano yung mga questions na madalas na tinatanggap din natin in relation dito sa mga pagdinig na to at bakit ito isa sa mga naging trigger natin sa pagbuo ng ating DepEd memorandum na ito?
In terms of the guidelines, we can actually not have a guidelines like this, no. But if that is, we don't value really the mental health of our learners. But of course, being in the mental health profession, we saw the need, no, to really come up with a system that would systematize everything from the referral up to the counseling. As to the, of course, we cannot cover the salary grade, the organizational growth, and professional development of our guidance counselors. We can only do so much as a bureau. No? Ang sinasabi lang natin, we are releasing guidelines that we cater to the mental health. But, kaya nga natin in-involve pati mga school heads dito so they would know the reality as well, no? Lalo na kapag nagbibigay sila ng loading. At nandito din po yung mga regional at division supervisors. Actually, yung memo naka-address siya sa mga regional directors, superintendents, at sa lahat ng concern. So kahit hindi sila attend dito, may black and white kayong pangahawakan. That is something to follow. Okay? Internally, of course, we have to check the loading of our guidance counselors. At yung mga sinasabi natin, sir, kaya nga ako hindi na guidance counselor, master teacher ako, ayoko mag-counseling. If that is your decision, ang tingin ko naman kasi hindi naman persahan ang pagganap bilang guidance counselor kasi kung persa ka, baka ibuhos mo sa client mo yung galit mo doon sa boss mo, no? So hindi naman maganda 'yon. So I believe we operate on the welfare of our learners. Kung sa tingin mo you are too loaded, no? Sabi mo na maybe counseling for now is not for me dahil I'm a teacher. And I do understand that kasi sa ethical considerations hindi naman pwede yung dual role, no? Unless you will handle a different level. Halimbawa, grade 10 teacher ka, then you will be counseling grade 9. Okay, yun, hindi yung dual role, no? Basta hindi ka teacher ng grade level na ika-counsel mo, okay lang yun. But in terms of salary grade, may mga pag-uusap na doon. I think uma-attend tayo sa mga Senate hearing at even sa lower house, no? And we strongly support the move to really increase. Kaya lang as siguro yung mga nakapanood kanina ng simula, sinabi na po natin, we're not getting tired of supporting it. But it's not only DepEd who decides on that. We are in the big bureaucracy as a government agency. No? So But that should not prevent us, from making mechanisms to really uphold the mental health of our and the well-being of our learners. Sir Carlo?
Yes, sir. Opo. Sir, I think meron pa tayong slide for the regional office, no? Which is a good thing po to discuss din para sa ating mga listeners and viewers.
Okay. So definitely tuloy ko na, no. So yung guidance designate, yung designated guidance counselor shall conduct counseling to the learners. So sabi po natin na dapat may equipment, no, or enable ang ating mga guidance counselor to conduct counseling kung online man yan o telecounseling. So document each counseling case being handled, provide referral services to outside mental health professional, conduct case consultation. Yung case, actually meron tayong tinatawag dito na case collaboration, no? Kaya lang hindi na namin sinama dito dahil isa siya sa mga big topics na kailangan ng separate venue. So yung case notes, case counseling supervision, pati yung case collaboration, we are seeing a different venue for that, no, sa ating mga fellow RGs. Conduct case consultation as if necessary, conduct conference with learners, parents, guardians, and make an annual report on the number of cases. Hindi ito yung detalyado. Kailangan lang natin i-account kung ilan halimbawa ang cases ng bullying, ilan ang cases ng halimbawa abuse, ilan ang cases ng poor self-esteem, etc. Ganun lang, by the numbers lang, hindi talaga tayo maglalabas ng detalye because of course we are so sensitive in terms of confidentiality. So the designate, kanina binabanggit namin na dapat may guidance supervision, o counseling supervision. So kung may pagkakataon, no, na may mga guidance counselor na pwedeng maging guidance supervisor, so these are the tasks that you can actually be guided with, no, to really act as a counseling supervisor. Pero sinasabi natin, a counseling supervisor should not be seen as a managerial or supervisory position. Actually, designation lang ito na kung saan you have to aid the attending guidance counselor doon sa kanyang mga kaso para lang magkaroon ng area or other perspective yung attending guidance counselor. So we won't be discussing this in details kasi actually ubos na yung time natin and also consider the time of those attending from different parts of the country. No? So in the regional level, regional office should support counseling and referral services in the division level, ensure proper implementation of the counseling and referral services, in collaboration with the health services unit and submit a consolidated report of the division offices on the number of cases and their nature to the national level. So the BCD shall lead the planning, preparation, implementation, and monitoring of the counseling and referral services. So yung budget dito ay can be charged sa annual school improvement plan. So I think that's for the slide. We planned na walang slides. It's like an informal conversation. No? Kaya lang, dahil ito ay guidelines at alam naman natin sa government na kapag guidelines, dapat ay maging malinaw yung mga provisions, no? Kaya po may mga PowerPoint presentation tayo. But we can entertain some questions.
Yes, sir. Yes po. Sir, I will just pose questions po. I think pwede na po ba yung 10 or that's too much po sa time natin?
Ano lang yung kakayanin ng time.
Sige, sir. Sige po. First question, sir. Sabi po dito, differentiate guidance counselor advocates from prefect of discipline and also the function of peer counselors.
Okay. Should I answer that first or yung aking mga kasamahan? O sige, if that would take time, sige, sagutin ko na, no? Yung guidance advocate, we are there to do the guidance services that are allowable, no, within the RE 9258. At ito yung mga information service, career guidance, research and evaluation, at yung Halimbawa ay yung consultation, no? Referral is also something that you can do as a guidance designate. Now, in terms of pre-pickup discipline, I understand walang plantilla niyan sa DepEd, no? Sa private sector kasi meron yan.
Wala.
Ang pre-pickup discipline is the one in charge of disciplining the student. So yung mga nag-aaway, nagsuntukan, halimbawa na estudyante, dinadala dapat yan sa pre-pickup discipline o sa discipline officer. Yung ibang school, ang alam ko, nagkakaroon ng initiative to really assign someone to serve as discipline officer, which is good, no? So sila ang mahawak ng discipline concerns ng mga bata. Kaya lang, kapag ang pinag-uusapan na ay behavioral concerns, no? Halimbawa, kaya lagi napapaaway itong bata dahil may anger management concern siya o problem siya, that's the time na i-refer yan sa guidance counselor. So, ang guidance counselor po, hindi po siya tapunan ng mga may disciplinary problems na bata, no? Ang hinahandle po ng guidance counselor ay may mga behavioral concerns or even mental health concerns. Pero kapag discipline cases po, ideally, kung makakapag-assign po tayo ng discipline officer to handle that, that's very well appreciated.
Okay, sir. Sige po. Sir, ang next question po natin, I think this is very important po to answer, no? Ang question po is, this is according to, can I say the name, sir, or wag na?
Okay lang.
Okay lang. Kay Marieto Lozada, sabi po niya, we don't have yet a single license guidance in our division consisting of 35 districts. But we have been conducting psychological first aid to our teacher guidance designates who attend to some minor mental problems or mental health problems siguro of our learners. Is this practice in our division valid?
Okay, let me answer that. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Oo. Yes. Actually, nasa prevention yan eh. Preventive measure pa din yan. And at the same time, yung support na maibibigay, kayang ibigay kahit hindi RGC. No? So, dun sa psychosocial support, possible yan. However, ingat lang kasi there are instances na kailangan din ng referral, no? So, hindi kasi siya one size fits all lagi. Okay? So, kumbaga, generally, if you want to give some assistance to specific students or kung may need talaga ng assistance yung specific students, doon mag-a-apply itong referral and counseling. Pero yung ibang ginagawa na existing na, like sa kanilang case, meron silang psychosocial support, as a preventive measure para hindi mapunta o magkaroon ng mental health problem. Yung mga bata maka-adapt sila doon sa current situation, that will be welcome. That is welcome and talagang makikita natin na valid naman 'yon as an action, no? 'Yun po.
Dagdag ko lang din in terms of training our faculties or teachers on psychosocial first aid, okay naman yun. Actually, it's one way of equipping them on what to do when someone goes to them. But they have to know the red flags, when to stop and when to refer. Kasi sabi ko nga, you don't mess around or you don't mess up with our clients, lalong-lalo na kung hindi kayo trained to do that. No? So you know your limitations, you know the red flags, kasi chances are, it might come as a surprise sa atin kapag sumuong tayo sa bagay na hindi tayo handa at baka maapektuhan pati ang ating sanity. So, yun lang naman ang ating pinapaalala sa ating mga faculty at sa ating teachers. But psychological first aid or mental health first aid, we're also providing that. Magandang move yan to really equip our teachers sa psychological well-being ng bata.
Okay, sir. Sige po. Let's proceed, sir, dun sa third question. This is from Olongapo City National High School. Good afternoon po. Ito po ang aking tanong. Since wala po tayong face-to-face counseling or coaching, virtual po ang mga paraan namin sa counseling and referrals. Minsan po, through face-to-face parents, conferences po without the learner. On the mental health concerns. Ano-ano po ba ang mga approaches na palagay niyo po ay effective this pandemic?
Would my colleagues want to answer that o sasagutin ko?
Sige sir. Depende. Sa akin sir, depende siguro kung RGC yung magpa-conduct, pwede. So, pero kung hindi, medyo baka magkaroon din ng baka merong dapat siya merong red flag, so hindi niya kayang i-handle. And also, di ba, yun nga, sa RA 9258, talagang ang dapat lang na magbigay ng counseling ay mga registered guidance counselor. So it doesn't mean na hindi natin sila pinapayagan, pero kasi yun po ay yun nasa batas na. So para rin yun sa protection nila at protection ng ibang tao na nag-handle ng counseling na walang lisensya.
Dagdag pa dyan, no? Una, we are advocating the evidence-based practice. So depende yon sa kaso o sa nature ng client, no? And we always say na you employ something that is proven scientifically. Okay, and avoid those potentially harmful therapies and interventions kasi hindi mo alam kung nakakasama ka o nakakabuli ka na. So mas magandang may safety blanket ka na you are espousing evidence-based. And me being a counselor, kahit pa paano ay nagkaroon tayo ng mga pagsasanay, no? Sa cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT or even DBT, indirect behavioral therapy. At marami pa actually ng iba. Kaya lang, sinasabi natin na dapat tayong magsanay, i-sharpen natin. Of course, hindi natin gagawang binipig yung ating mga clients dahil that's unethical. We don't handle something that is not part of our preparation. Kasi halatang-halata naman, lalo na kapag may mga webinars tayo, halatang-halata kapag yung mga nagbibigay ng lecture ay nagbasa lang at nag-discuss at hindi nila na-experience at pina-practice. And we can easily pinpoint if they cannot humanize, no, what is being presented sa mga lectures.
Okay, sir. Sige po. Itong sir sa Region 6, I think I can answer this, sir. Sige po. Ang question po niya is, before the law was passed, there are already guidance counselors in the public schools. How do you classify those guidance counselors who are not RGCs and not guidance designates? From the memo, only RGCs can conduct counseling. How about counselors or guidance counselors who have been in the service for years already but are not RGCs? No? Saan po daw sila nagpo-fall? Yes, we cannot discount po the experience of these professionals that really talaga invested no time to talk to the students. However, because of the law, the 9258 po, it prevents them actually to use the name guidance counselor at the same time facilitate counseling. However, meron din naman po kasi mga pumasok dun sa grandfather's clause as long as they were able to present evidences po na talagang they've been to counseling for so many years. Pero I think tapos na yata yun, no, sir? Matagal-tagal na nag-accept ng grandfather's clause. Pero yun po, kung ito po existing pa sa ating mga eskwelahan, we can call them guidance designates and advocates.
Yeah, in addition, of course, the RA 9258 prevents any non-license to conduct counseling. So that's our guiding principle. So in the event na tayo ay guidance counselor by position, but not really an RGC holder, of course, we do only those guidance services na pwedeng gawin ng non-license. Kahit sabihin yung guidance counselor ang ating plantilla position. Kasi we are guided by the principle ng RA 9258.
Okay, sir. Pwede pa po tayong mag-entertain, sir, ng question? Or
we would love to answer all questions, no? Kaya lang dahil we don't have much time, medyo limited yung ating time, we can entertain one last question.
Okay, sir. Sir, hanap na lang ako dito sa questions natin, no? Kasi yung ibang mga questions po nasagot na kanina, no? Sige po, hanap po tayo dito ng isang question. Okay. Ito sir, magandang tanong. As a guidance advocate, do we extend our services to our co-teachers?
Okay. Sino, yung Miss John and Miss Tina, would you like to answer that first before I give mine?
Okay. Sir, pwede naman. Kasi ang magiging role naman nila, magre-refer lang din naman sila. Kaya lang, di ba, learners. So, paano ba yun, sir, pagka halimbawa ang, kunwari, mga teachers ang nagkaroon ng red flag or dumadaan sa depression. So, sa tingin ko, possible naman, pero siguro, nakafocus kasi tayo sa learners, Kasi yung practice natin, may intake interview. So, learners talaga yung kinikater natin.
Yeah. Dagdag lang din sa sinabi ni Miss Tina, no, paglilinaw lang din. Kasi baka magkaroon din ng problem with the role that we actually, ano ba yung role natin sa buhay nila? Are we their guidance counselor? Or are we their colleague? Baka kasi magkaroon din tayo ng problema doon. And yung ethical, considerations in relation sa counseling. So, we need to make sure na if ever mag-a-avail sila ng guidance service, baka ang possible best option would be referral to other professionals na hindi nila kasamahan, hindi nila kasama dun sa school. Ayan, sir.
Tama yun. Yes. Kasi unang-una, we have to be clear about our relationship with them. Okay? Is it professional or professional as counselor, counselee, or colleague, no? Siyempre, colleague natin yan. It's imperative na hindi tayo magkaroon ng dual relationship sa kanila. So, our colleagues cannot be our counselee as well. Okay? Halimbawa kami ni Miss John na I cannot be his counselor kasi unang-una, nasa isang kumpanya kami, nasa isang ahensya kami, no? At kasamahan ko siya sa trabaho. The same thing with Miss Tina, I cannot be her counselor as well. So, kung ganyan, I need to refer kasi malinaw yung relasyon ko as a colleague with them. Ganon din po tayo. So, kung halimbawa ako may co-teacher, gusto magpa-counseling, that cannot happen. The same thing kung may barkada ako halimbawa o kaibigan na gusto magpa-counseling, sasabi ko lagi sa kanila na I have to refer you to a different counselor. Kasi tayo ay magkaibigan, tayo ay colleagues, no? So, yun ang ating relasyon. At ito ay alinsunod sa prinsipyo ng ethical standards ng walang dual o multiple relationship. The same thing na hindi mo pwedeng maging counselee ang iyong family member, ganun din naman ang iyong principal halimbawa o ang iyong boss o di kaya ang sinasabi nating best friend mo. So you cannot do that kasi bina-violate mo yung ethical standards ng counseling.
Okay, sir. So I think, sir, okay na tayo doon because of time, no? Medyo napipigilan tayong sumagot ng napakaraming mga talagang relevant at related talagang mga questions na nandito sa ating chat box. Sige po. Sir, Ma'am Cindy, can I?
Yes po, sir.
Shall we proceed to closing, sir?
Yeah, Miss Cindy?
Okay. Okay. So, yes po. Thank you very much po sa ating mga panelists. Grabe. Personally, I feel so fortunate kasi I was able to attend this orientation and I've really learned a lot on this. At saka, I also had my own takeaway. Gusto ko i-share sa inyo. And ito po yun. Ako po talaga. Like, this was not really discussed during their conversation. Pero this is a matter. We cannot really begin with the first step. So tama nga naman, no? Parang this is also applicable in our lives. So this time, of course, gusto rin naming malaman yung takeaways ninyo. So we also prepared another Mentimeter, Ma'am Nika. So it's about your takeaways. Of course, thank you very much to those who stayed, those 4,677 attendees na nagstay with us. Thank you very much. And this is your Mentimeter question. What is your takeaway on this orientation? So just proceed to again in menti.com and use the code 29964437. Again, you may use the code 29964437. And we'll be waiting for your answers. Okay. So we are waiting for your takeaways. Miss Tika, tama po ba yung nakikita ko? Wala pong nagsasagot.
Ma'am Cindy, may mga pumapasok po na mga responses.
Okay, so
Apo.
meron technical and lawful protocols to follow. Tama nga. Okay, ayan. So institutionalization is the best way to deal with mental health problems since 1800s. Oh. So we are all guidance advocates. We are all guidance advocates in our own little way. Tama po, I definitely agree on that. So another one is great presentation. Hope we can get copies of what they have discussed. So according to our focal person, we'll be sharing with you po a PowerPoint presentation. So for this remarks. So the importance of referral and the limitations of guidance designates. Okay, I learned a lot from this orientation. Thank you so much. Thank you din po sa inyo because you stayed with us po. And you cannot give what you do not have. Opo, parang ito ay isang very classic na kasabihan. And of course, naniniwala po tayong lahat dyan. So, siguro po, we have to find a way on how we'll be able to get the skill that we need in our, in performing our tasks. So, ayan po, last one, if parents, guardians will not consent the referral, it should be properly documented so that if worse comes to worse, we as teachers and guidance designate will not be held liable. So, parang I'd like to end it here po. Maganda pong, this is a good reminder for you po as guidance designates and career advocates. So, last one po, ma'am, know your commitment, know your boundaries. So that's right po. Thank you very much for sharing with us. We learned. So before we proceed to the next part, may I remind everyone to accomplish the evaluation form today until 11:59 p.m. because the link which will be sent in our chat box, it's flashed here on the screen, will be closed at exactly 12 midnight. So, pwede na rin po kayong mag-screenshot if you want. Baka po kasi makalimutan ninyo. Okay. We would also like to I'm just reading for the other reminders. Okay, so you can also look for this presentation in our, tama po ba? In our FB page, Guidance Philippines. So again po, those are some of our reminders. But before we end this, we would like to acknowledge the following persons who have supported us, make it successful. Of course, uh, thank you very much to our Yusek Diosdado San Antonio, Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction. Also to Director Jocelyn D.R. Andaya, Director 4 of the Bureau of Curriculum Development, Director Samuel Sullivan, Director 3 of BCD, Dr. Isabel Victorino, Chief Education Program Specialist of the Curriculum Standards Development Division of BCD, um, Ma'am Rose Domingo, OIC Chief of Special Curricular Programs Division of BCD, and of course, Dr. Maria Arlene P. Tamayo, OIC Schools Division Superintendent of Angeles City. Of course, we would like also to thank the mother of the Department of Education, our Secretary Briones. So, may we now request everyone to please turn on their cameras for a photo opportunity. So we'll be able to save this memory because today we are celebrating the 7,000 plus attendees of this orientation. So Ma'am Nika, please take a photo po.
Miss Cindy, let us also thank Dr. Carlo Puno for being our moderator
Yes, yes.
this event. Thank you so much, Sir
Thank
Carlo.
you, Sir Carlo.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carlo Puno. Kaano-ano nyo po si Rico Puno? Just kidding po.
Maybe we can have a group
Last
photo
week,
before we end this.
last means
Sige, let's have our picture taking.
Ay, wait lang. Na-share yung ano ko, FB. So, ayan na po.
Miss Nika, open yung camera.
Sino po ang
So, 1, 2, 3.
Si Miss Nika na. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much po.
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Hope
Cindy.
this
Thank you,
activity
Sir
helps
Alfred.
you understand the guidance, counseling, and referral system and other matters on mental health issues. Sabi nga po, we can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone. And this is our way of helping you
Wow.
for you to be able to perform your tasks. So once again, thank you very much. This orientation has ended.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't
Sir
forget
Alfred.
the evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir Mark, thank you. Ma'am Jonah, thank you. Sir
Thank
Carlo.
you. Thank
Salamat
you.
po, Ma'am Tina, Sir Mark, Ma'am Jonah. Ma'am Cindy, thank you po.
Cindy,
Salamat
Sir Alfred.
Ika, thank you, Alfred, Cindy.
po.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Nice working with you po.
Okay, congratulations. Naka-stop live event.
Naka-live pa pala tayo.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.